It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. And Bill, some original reporting. Because I sat through White Dudes for Harris last night.
I apologize. That must have been interesting.
Phil Weiser. Is Phil Weiser telling a whopper? We're going to get to that here in just a second, but congratulations. You're waking up in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis. Most importantly, though, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, we'll provide a little analysis on that Georgia school shooting that took place yesterday. He was on a list. He was on an FBI list. Had been interviewed along with his dad, and the school shooting that resulted in the death of 2 students and 2 adults still took place. So we'll be covering that information, as well as the Phil Weiser whopper and Kamala Harris's love affair with big tech. Kind of interesting when you dive into it. Who's she being funded by? And then big, I'm talking earth-shattering updates on the Venezuelan gangs that are taking place here in Colorado. CBS 4 actually doing the news. Colorado law firm reports claims Venezuelan gang had stranglehold on the apartment's takeover began in 2023.
That's interesting.
Brian Maas doing the deep dive on this has apparently some legal documents saying that our city and state officials knew about these problems, including child prostitution rings taking place in these apartment complexes, possibly going back all the way to 2023.
I thought that Danielle Jurinsky and Fabricatoria and all of us and our listeners were just imagining it. That's weird.
Yeah, that's what the governor said.
We were told we were imagining it. It was all pretend.
Yeah.
I wonder how Brian Maas uncovered this pretend story. That's weird. Very strange.
Sat down and he and Danielle Jurinsky wrote up a little story, apparently.
Yeah. You know, it's not like when Danielle Jurinsky was accused of abusing her son. No, that was totally made up. That was a made up story.
Yep.
And this one, though, however, and as you pointed out, has been fun, Jeff, to see Channel 9 try to deal with the reality when they assumed it was imaginary. This has been fun.
So, Billy, I couldn't sleep last night. I was thinking about this.
Sorry.
Channel 9 has got Channel 9's got a very serious issue on their hands.
Yeah, they do. On this one, absolutely they do.
Because Kyle Clark's modus operandi for the last 17 years, he's been a reporter at Channel 9, has been make conservatives look like extreme nutcases.
Yeah.
That's just what he does. Including yesterday, is reporting on folks around the Dominion case. Make conservatives look like nutcases. That is literally just about every night. Not literally, but he wants to make conservatives look like nutcases. So his default reporting in this case was to make Danielle Jurinsky and John Fabricatory look like nutcases.
Yeah. So they're imagining this. They're not doing this.
Yes.
That was the governor's words, but that was the idea. This isn't really happening.
This was made up by right-wing conspiracies.
Yeah. They're making a big noise about something that's not really happening.
Yeah. So that modus operandi of your top reporter at your news agency to make right-wing conservatives look crazy is what guided him in this story. And he has put the entire news agency in a very serious situation.
Yeah. The sad part about this is that I believe the majority of the KUSA viewers don't care. They don't care. As long as they're being told what they like and they have a cute puppy story, or they talk about some car wash that's going on the weekend, or some new kombucha thing or something. I don't know. It's like they're fine. That thing is, I don't think they judge them based on
and is that because Channel 9's viewership has just changed that much?
I think it's because how they present the news. It's light, fluffy, mommy news. I mean, there's a facade of doing harder news, but it's not done that way. And a lot of it is the feel-good stuff. If you break down, and again, people go, no, we do the hard news channel line. Break down your news clock. How long are you on the air? And then compartmentalize how much of that percentage is doing what you would consider hard news, and versus everything else that happens over the course of the half hour or the hour when you're broadcasting. Very few minutes are spent on the actual hard news stuff, because you got to do traffic, you got to do weather, you got to talk about Wet Nose Wednesday, and you got to do all that stuff that make us feel good. So the portion of what they're talking about in hard news is smaller than the portion of them doing anything else. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, and Kyle Clark for years talks about how elected officials just need to admit when they're wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
Just admit when they're wrong. And Kyle, you have a really big opportunity here.
Yeah.
To practice what you preach.
Yeah. I mean, we have a texter that was challenged me based on a conversation on air and off air yesterday that, oh, if I'm wrong, admit I'm wrong. I'm like, okay, I don't think you know me very well. I've admitted I've been wrong several times on the air on this show. I have 4 kids.
I'm wrong more often than I'm right.
I'm wrong all the time. And the idea that I have anything against it, they're like, oh, you just don't want to be wrong. No.
Okay.
That doesn't
Bill,
care.
To that point, I got a lot of text messages yesterday about our interview with Eli Bremer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's very important for people to understand this. So
yes,
we have, and I have them on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jeff Hunt, Colorado. I have both interviews up there.
Yeah.
You can go watch both interviews. Okay. Where you fall on the side of either Eli Bremer and Dave Williams, I guarantee you, I have people texting me saying I was too nice to your guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I got both sides of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to bring up this point. It's not my job to prosecute your case.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly it.
All right. I appreciate the recommended questions to ask, and I will take a look at those questions, and I will think about your questions.
Yeah.
And I may ask your questions, but it's not our job to prosecute your case. I will never. I've run into this time and time again in politics. People get very angry at me when I don't hate their opponent as much as they do.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah, this isn't about hating them. This is about what is the disagreement between the two chairmen of the Colorado Republican Party who could be dutifully elected. Why not? And why does each person feel they have a claim? And we are going to ask them, some of the questions. We pushed Eli a little bit yesterday, and we pushed Dave Williams a little bit the day before. But it's not about a knockdown, drag-out fight in this, because we're not adjudicating the case. We have no say-so. We don't get to vote on it. There's nothing we can do.
And we're not lawyers either.
No,
so our ability to even understand the nuances of this case is very limited.
And again, text messenger yesterday is saying that we were just idiots because the court's not going to do anything. The court is not going to get involved in party disputes. Okay. I disagree with that, because there are lawsuits that have been filed. Now, the lawsuits, they could just say, nope, we dismiss these. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
If the courts, as the texter said, just dismisses all of the cases and says, there's nothing here, we're not going to get involved, how do you possibly resolve this?
Then the RNC steps in at that point.
But
it has to.
But even then, do they necessarily have the purview? Is either side going to respect the decision? We're not just, we're not guaranteed of that. So just the idea that when the texter was saying, well, the courts aren't going to do anything, you're wrong about this. Okay, fine. Then what's the solution? And as if if they feel the RNC has made the wrong decision, they're going to go, okay, you're right. I don't think that's going to be happening.
So this would often come up when I would host speakers at the summit. I would get complaints, and this is important for everybody to understand about the Western Conservative Summit.
Yeah.
If you spoke on the stage of the Western Conservative Summit, I got a complaint about you speaking on the stage of the Western Conservative Summit. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody got a complaint. Okay. Yep. Across the board. Somebody said, why are you spending time putting that person up on the stage?
Yeah.
I got it about everybody. So I'm a coalitions guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means that I've done that from the very beginning of my career with Rick Santorum, all the way through Mitt Romney, and then through the Western Conservative Summit, and now onto this radio show, which means I generally am about getting a lot of people together and trying to generally go in one unified direction.
Yeah.
Best of my ability.
It's like with the Colorado GOP chair, you and I have both expressed, let's just figure out who the coach is going to be. Let them play the game, and then reevaluate after the Super Bowl. Right. Let's see what happens. Now, if the team wants Dave Williams in charge, okay, great. That's fine. We are okay with Dave Williams in charge. If the team wants Eli Bremer in charge, great. We are okay with Eli Bremer in charge. We think there are advantages and disadvantages to both.
That's correct.
And both of them will probably have different outcomes in the fall. Jeff and I have opinions about what those outcomes can be, but we're not the coach. That's fine. And we'll give you our opinions on what those outcomes can be. But we're not sitting here saying this needs to be the new coach. I always find that funny when you have fans, when you're searching for a new head coach for your team, how emotional they get tied to certain choices. I'm like, just let it go. Figure out, let your team figure out who they think is going to be the best choice and then evaluate it from there. See how they do. Yeah.
Very good, Bill.
Best thing you can do.
We've got a whole lot to cover. Venezuelan gang updates, Kamala Harris and her love affair with big tech, the Georgia school shooting, and now Venezuelan gang problems in Douglas County. Car thefts rising, and they're tied to the Venezuelans. We'll cover all of this and more. First, the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good to hear your voices on this Thursday. 55 and still some rain in the Denver area, expecting a high of 76 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, a 14-year-old student entered Appalachia High School on Wednesday with an AR-15 style weapon, killing 2 students and 2 teachers on Wednesday. 9 others were injured. President Biden released a statement shortly after saying he and his family are mourning the deaths caused by senseless gun violence. He called on Republicans in Congress to work with Democrats to pass common sense gun safety legislation. Sounds like it could have been worse had it not been for an armed police officer in the school. Former President Trump asked about that and much more last night with Hannity on Fox News Channel.
Well, it's a sick and angry world for a lot of reasons, and we're going to make it better. We're going to heal our world. We're going to get rid of all these wars that are starting all over the place because of incompetent American leadership. And we're going to make it better. You know, Viktor Orban made a statement. They said, bring Trump back and we won't have any problems. He was very strong about that. So we're going to hopefully do very well. We have an election coming up. And actually, you know, they keep saying 60, but it starts in Delaware and North Carolina and other places a lot sooner than that.
All right, the campaign continues. CDOT's executive director says Wednesday's deadly crash on Highway 6 in Mesa County is devastating heartbreak. 2 workers just finished fixing a street sign when an SUV struck them and hit their truck, killing both and a passenger in the SUV. The state patrol chief blames a lane violation and reminds all drivers to slow down or move over for cars stopped on the side of the road. 12 jurors and 4 alternates were chosen Wednesday. They'll hear the case against Ahmad Alyssa, who's charged with gunning down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder. The 25-year-old pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity last November following a diagnosis of schizophrenia. The judge says the trial will last 3 weeks. Aurora police say 4 people arrested in connection with the July shooting have ties to the Venezuelan gang Trende Aragua. 24-year-old Hornardi Pacheco Chirinos is charged with attempted murder, while his brother and 2 alleged accomplices face additional charges, including tampering with evidence. The shooting wounded 2 men and left a 3rd person with a broken ankle. So, Savannah Hernandez, along with Brian Moss, KCNC, but Savannah Hernandez, she's doing a great job on X. If you want to cover all this stuff.
And I am currently outside of one of the migrant apartments in this area. It is called Ivy Crossing. And as you guys can see behind me, this entire block is completely filled with broken down vehicles that are missing bumpers, that have expired license plates, maybe even no license plates at all, or slashed tires.
And she's just trying to show how the community is just being destroyed because of these gangs and everything that we see, thanks to open borders, sanctuary cities. So Savannah Hernandez on X doing good work. A burglary suspect is in custody following a car chase that began in Highlands Ranch Wednesday morning. Deputies responded to a reported burglary at a salvage yard, and the suspect reportedly got into a truck and rammed a patrol car as he sped away from the scene. Police say the suspect fired shots at pursuing officers before the chase ended in Greenwood Village when he crashed into a tree. 29-year-old Brenton Zeiler was arrested, and the deputy who was rammed was treated for injuries at a hospital. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplaceandpatio.com. Well, my 8th grader is excited. He's got NFL football tonight. His Ravens take on the Chiefs. So
big night.
Yeah.
Who's all rushing to get their fantasy football leagues finished?
Kelly asked me that. I did fantasy one year, and it just ticked me off so much. I can't do it. I cannot do it.
What made you mad? What made you mad about it?
Everything. I mean,
Everything.
It is the antithesis of football to me.
You just want
football is a team
relax
sport
and
watch
the game and enjoy, and you're not falling over the stats of quarterback for another team.
He's on my team. He's on my team. You're on an airplane somewhere and like, hey, so-and-so's on my team. Really, he's on your team. I got him. I mean, no, it's great stuff. I can't handle it because the offensive line is the most important position in football, and not one of them is in fantasy football. So football is the ultimate team sport, and I think it just ruins it. But I'm old curmudgeon. So.
Yeah, it's weird now because it's so automated. It is so much easier than it was back in the day because I'm an old man, and I'm not going to talk about this. I was involved in fantasy football when we were still having to wait until the next morning to pull the stats out of the newspaper because they weren't generated. Nobody was paying attention to it. ESPN ignored it. There weren't any fantasy TV shows. There weren't any fantasy draft pages. There weren't anybody doing a mock draft about what you should do and the keepers you have. No. I mean, this was the OG where we were spreading out. And at the time, it was the Rocky Mountain News because of the style. Because the broadsheet, it's not tall. So that's the idea. So the Rocky Mountain News was the easiest way to get the stats, but you had to wait until the next morning. And that meant you wouldn't know who won that week sometimes until Tuesday afternoon.
That's when it was fun.
Yeah, it was a pain, but it was so much fun. Now it's so automated, and they have all these different little rules. One of the things I hate right now is, and I appreciate you saying about the teams, is they've changed from going with a team defense to an individual defensive player.
Oh, is that right?
That's crap.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous. I just don't understand why you wouldn't take an entire defensive team and take the points that team squad would do. I thought that was the last vestige of real football inside of it, but now they get to pick one or two defensive players. Yay. It's gotten really ridiculous, but
Well, I remember when all this started in I think it's like late 80s, 88, 89.
Yeah, 88, 89.
Yeah, something like that. Now, I remember where I was. I was in the parking lot of the TV station I was working at in Texas, and this producer comes up. He says, hey, you want to play fantasy football? And I'm like, is this dude a freak? What is he talking about? What is fantasy football?
Yep.
You know, I mean, I wanted to play electric football, you know, like 20 years earlier.
Dude, I had that one too, where you
Is
turn around and
that's
goes,
the greatest.
yeah, you sit around and go, bzzz, and then you wonder, like, nobody's going anywhere. I mean, and the best part
Jeff
about
needs to look at electric football.
they
I
do,
don't know.
and they lied to you because they say there's little dials on the bottom of the pieces, and if you change the dial, it would make the players go in a different direction. No, it didn't. You had a couple of guys that would just go in circles, and a couple of guys that would just slide sideways and go off to the edge of the field, and sometimes they'd go forward.
And it was so great.
It was.
I mean.
And all the time you'd set up the teams, you'd set up the entire line. There's the offense, there's the defense. You'd push it, and everybody go, blah, 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 and then nothing. Like, well, sucks.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, the things that entertained us 40 years ago, incredible.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Electric football, kids, you need one.
Yes, you
no
do.
doubt.
You
Jeff,
do.
you need one. 52
Absolutely.
in Castle Rock, 51 in Arvada, 55 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. It's Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A little bit of moisture that came in yesterday from a Pacific front will linger early in the day. It'll be cooler, just 70s in Denver, and a few showers and thunderstorms will be possible. Clearing tonight, lows in the low to mid-50s, back to dry weather, sunny and warm, 80s Friday, 80s Saturday, 80s to near 90 for Sunday and Monday. Only a few isolated mountain thunderstorms this weekend. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, here's the latest on the school shooting that took place yesterday. This was a Georgia high school. 2 14-year-old students and 2 teachers were killed in a mass shooting at Appalachia High School in Winder, Georgia. 9 other people, 8 students and 1 teacher were wounded and hospitalized. All are expected to survive, which is the good news. It was 2 14-year-old students in a math class. So here's what happened. Here's the timeline of the shooting. Student Layla Sarayath said the suspected shooter left the classroom at the beginning of their Algebra 1 class around 9:45 a.m. When he returned near the end of the class, so that gives me the sense that he probably went to his car.
Yeah, I think I was reading he was gone for about a half an hour.
Half an hour?
Yeah, and didn't. And one of the people in the classroom with him said it was odd because she noticed he didn't ask for the bathroom or hall pass. And she's like, oh, he's skipping. And just walked out the door. Yeah, that was something that I thought was interesting. She said he was gone for about a half an hour is what she thought.
So he returns near the end of the class. He knocks to try to get back in the classroom. Another student went to open the door, but Layla said the student noticed the gun and didn't open the door. Thank God. Said the shooter went to the classroom next door and started to open fire. Sheriff's Department received first reports of the shooting around 10:20. So that would be about 30 minutes later. He leaves at 9:45, comes back. First shooting happens around 10:20 a.m. Law enforcement arrived shortly after those calls, in addition to 2 school resource officers assigned to Appalachia High. A resource officer confronted the shooter, who immediately surrendered to the deputy and was taken into custody. That's what the sheriff told reporters. When the shooting happened, all schools in the district were placed in lockdown, and police were sent out of an abundance of caution to all district high schools. The FBI and ATF were later on the scene working with local and state officials, Attorney General Merrick Garland said yesterday. There were no reports of secondary incidents or scenes, law enforcement told CNN. The gun used in Wednesday's shooting was an AR platform weapon. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation director, a law enforcement official told CNN earlier it was an AR-15 style rifle. Appalachia High School had received a phone threat earlier in the morning, warning that there would be shootings at 5 schools and that Appalachia would be the first, multiple law enforcement officials told CNN. GBI director said there's no evidence of other schools being targeted, but investigators are pursuing any other leads. Schools in the county would be closed for the week. Now, I don't want to give the guy's name out because I don't know if that helps.
No.
But he was questioned by law enforcement last year regarding several anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting at an unidentified location and time, according to FBI Atlanta and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. At the time, there was no probable cause for arrest.
Yeah, he didn't have a plan at that time. They couldn't find anything. So what are you going to do? And again, this is just me on repeat, and it's hard these mornings because I can't care anymore because as a society, we don't care. This is the cover charge of living in America. Sometimes when you're sending your kids off to school, they're not going to come home. Sometimes when your family members are teachers and they go to work, they're not going to come home. That's how we have decided America is going to function. We've decided in our society, this is okay. We've decided we are okay with this happening on a regular basis. I think this is it 40 or so? I'm not sure the number. School shootings this year. We've got over
45th.
Yeah, 45th. So 45 that we've had this year. We're okay with this. If we allow this to happen 45 times as of the beginning of September, we're okay with this. We've decided this is a function of our society. We've had more than 300 mass shootings, and they qualify my words, not them, so far this year. More than 300. That's more than days of the year. So we have decided in American society, this is the price of entry. You want to participate in American society, you can get shot for a dozen random reasons in any place you are. That's it.
Do you think, though, that I take a little bit of issue with the idea that this is stuff that we tolerate in our society, because it seems like we try to set up things to prevent these from happening.
Do we?
Yeah, you have an FBI that tracks online threats.
Yeah.
In this case, it triggered the FBI's engagement.
Yeah.
They didn't have enough ability to be able to arrest him or the probable cause to be able to arrest him.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the FBI sat down with the guy's dad, and he was there. So the parent knew that their child was making online threats, knew that there were guns in the home, said that the guns were not accessible, were locked up, and yet this dude still shows up with an AR-15. I'm wondering what more could be done other than threatening to take away Second Amendment rights, something that would threaten perfectly good law-abiding citizens who aren't going to do this type of stuff. So you set up systems to try to protect this. The system didn't work. I don't know if it's something that we tolerate or if it's the incompetency. I mean, if the school gets a threat that morning, the FBI has this guy on a list. I don't know what more you expect to be done. It seems like
there's a lot that could be done, but we can go back to Columbine. Yeah. This has been going on for over 2 decades. And yet we stand here and go, nothing we can do about it. That's why I say that we've accepted it.
But why do you say there's nothing we can do about it? There are things we can do about it. We just didn't do them.
No, we just don't want to do them. And the idea of
who doesn't want the FBI to address a guy that's
it's not
making
the FBI.
threats?
This is my example. We take our shoes off at the airport because one guy, one time, tried to light his shoes on fire.
Shoe on fire, right?
One time, and it didn't even work. And ever since then, we all take our shoes off. We made that change. That's it. But we've decided we're not willing to make changes, whatever they're going to be, in order to prevent this from happening. We are the only major civilized country where this happens regularly on the planet. And us standing here and saying there's no solutions and we don't know how to solve it.
But I don't think that's not what we're saying. I'm saying that there are solutions, but no one implemented them.
Like what?
Like the FBI meeting with the guy.
Yeah, but what is the FBI supposed to do? What do you want them to do? What would be the solution? What should the FBI have done instead?
I don't know. I don't know the details of all this case.
But you can't arrest him. You can't arrest him, and God
forbid, for making threats.
What would you say? What about free speech and such like that? That's the idea.
But that's inciting violence. You don't have
not necessarily. Not necessarily, depending on how you're going to.
You don't have the free speech to threaten other people.
It depends on how and where you make it. Because some of the Palestinian protesters on campuses disagree. Yeah. They make threats. Absolutely, they make threats. So you have, and that's the idea: is what are we going to do about it? And the other part is, remember, a friend of the show, George Brockler, got pilloried because he suggested that maybe we should have red flag laws.
Red flag laws.
He was pilloried for that. And, but that would be something that may help in certain situations.
Parental failure. So if the dad knows the guy's making online threats, has guns in the house, tells the FBI, "Oh, don't worry, they're locked up." Obviously, one of them's not.
Maybe not.
It seems like there was a failure at the parental level. Seems like there was a failure at the FBI level, and it seems like there's a failure at the school level too. You got a threat that morning.
And what was the school supposed to do?
Do schools get threats every day?
All the time.
Right.
Schools get threats regularly. And so how do you respond and what are you supposed to do? And the other part is this. So our solution to this issue is we need to, and I love the Ted Cruz coming out, we need to harden the schools, as if our schools need to be functioning as if they are prisons, as if we need to be functioning as if there's some sort of giant fences and things. That's where you want your kids going to school every day. That's the environment you want them in. I mean, that's the issue.
But no, Bill, I bring up the idea of hardening, or you bring up the idea of hardening. I've seen, like, if you go to a Jewish day school, I saw this down in Florida, for instance. I've seen it in Russia. They're guarded like Fort Knox.
Russia's a different example because they don't.
But also down in Florida, I saw the same thing in Florida. Guards with long guns at the front of the school. I think you guard what you love. And so to harden a school, to me, seems like an act of prudence.
Well, the thing is, they had not one, but two resource officers at that school. Didn't stop anything.
No,
it didn't stop anything at all.
It didn't stop anything. It did stop the guy. No, he got some. He definitely killed some people, but he didn't get to kill as many as they did Columbine.
I know, but it wasn't a deterrent, was it? That's the issue. We put the resource officers there supposedly as a deterrent, not as a response. The officers are supposed to be there as a deterrent from this happening, not because they are quick responders. If we say they're quick responders, then if you're saying that the school resource officers are there as a quick responder, then we have accepted that these things are going to happen. We have accepted they're going to have to respond to a school shooting that is inevitable. That's my point. It's exactly my point.
All right. Well, we're going to continue this conversation. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-892-6757. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I discussed the shooting that took place yesterday in Georgia. 2 14-year-old students and 2 teachers were killed in a mass shooting. My contention is that there were systems set up to try to prevent this, and they didn't kick in. The shooter had been interviewed by the FBI along with his father a year before over several anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting. The father assured the FBI that his son had no access to guns. There was a threat made that morning to the school itself. And so you had a series of things to try to prevent this, and it didn't kick in, and the shooting took place anyways. So is that the result of more of a systemic problem around a gun culture, or were there safety precautions that just weren't properly followed? Kind of, in my opinion, like Uvalde. Let's go to the phone lines. Rob Broomfield, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. Good morning, Rob.
Morning.
Morning, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, we're doing it to it. You know, there are so many branches to this tree. Why this keeps reoccurring? That none of us are big enough tree trimmers to even fathom it. You know, we've got to look at the fact of what's wrong with our society to where these kids feel this is, or even individuals feel this is the way to deal with their failures in life, their problems, whatever. When are we going to find out that this kid was on, you know, Ritalin or whatever for ADHD, for personality disorder? But, you know, the thing that I can't understand is we have armed guards in banks. You see armed guards in jewelry stores, but nobody is willing to protect our most valuable resource, which is our children. And, you know, there's a country that has not had a school shooting incident or an attack or anything of that nature since the very early 70s, and that's Israel. The Israeli model of having armed teachers, and there hasn't been a single teacher.
Yeah, but Rob, gun ownership gun ownership in Israel is vastly different. Americans would not tolerate the rules that are placed on individual gun owners in Israel.
Yeah, they put them in. They put them in an armory in the middle of the neighborhood.
But you also
that was one of the reasons why they had problems with Hamas.
You also have to apply for a license from the government, and you have to talk to them about why you need them. And then based on your need and your situation, they will give you a list of guns you're allowed to own. You don't get to go down to local store.
I also don't think Jews shoot each other.
Well, the issue is
there's like a cultural support there.
Yes and no, because also there is military conscription. So you have to serve in the military, and what you end up with is a lot of young soldiers wandering around with their military rifles.
Right.
It is a totally different culture. We wouldn't allow conscription here in America, nor would we allow the gun rules that they have in Israel here in America. So the idea that's why it happened. The rules are different.
Go ahead, Rob.
I understand this. One of the biggest problems is we have too many weaklings in our society that are not willing to look at what has to be done. Too many namby-pambies. Oh, no, guns in school. Scary, scary, bad. You know, they don't look at the reality of.
Well, what has to be done, Rob? What has to be done? Let me give you the magic wand from the Jeff and Bill Show. You wave the magic wand. What has to be done?
As I stated at the beginning of our discussion, this tree has far too many limbs for one person to. We need to figure out, like I said, the root cause, the root failure. Why do people feel that this is the need to deal with this? I grew up with guns when in school. I mean, guys had shotguns in the back windows and in the trunks of their cars every single day where I grew up down in
Yeah,
in
I understand
South
that, Rob. I
Wilson.
understand that with the shotguns, but
And-
you know, this kid didn't walk in there with a shotgun. Isn't that somewhat of the difference? Because when we look back, when Jeff looks back, I
No, a
look back,
deadly
you look
weapon
back.
is a deadly weapon.
No, I disagree.
weapon.
No, I disagree with you because this is the idea, Rob, is I'll tell you what. I'll meet you out here in the parking lot and we can do it with rubber bullets. And we can do it in the parking lot. I'll take an AR-15 with rubber bullets. You take a shotgun with rubber bullets. Let's start 70 meters away. Who's going to win? Me, every time, every single time. It's not equivalent. You're making a false equivalency talking about shotguns in the back of a car versus an AR-15 in a classroom. Totally
Rob,
different.
I appreciate the call. We're running out of time here. Rob, thanks so much. Look, I don't know if you have to get into the entire tree and trim it all up and all that stuff. There were systems that just didn't work. So why not address those issues instead of having to have much larger debates about all this other stuff?
But here's the thing is, if we wanted those systems to work, we would push back against them because we wouldn't want the FBI coming in based on just this single threat, arresting anybody. We wouldn't want based on this single threat for the FBI to come in and take anybody's guns. We have Rocky Mountain gun owners that would fight tooth and nail against that.
But we don't know the details here.
But hang on. These are the systems we have in place. Our systems are functioning exactly as we intend them.
I don't think so. If the FBI is interviewing him and his dad, and then a year later, a school shooting takes place, there was a breakdown somewhere in there, and I'd like to know more about it. All right, we've got You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy, give the people what they want.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we put our careers in jeopardy. We call it You Choose the News, everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. I spent just minutes this morning scouring the interwebs for really dumb stories about us humans to give them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show with Jeff Hunt and Blake Olson in the newsroom. Why are we doing this? It's fun, silly, and the people in charge have no idea we are doing it. So yes, we are going to take full liberty of not being supervised. So technically, it's their fault. Alrighty, and shh, it's a secret. Don't tell anybody. All right, here we go, gentlemen. Your headlines today. Headline number 1, new housing plan. Headline number 2, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Headline number 3, bird hand something something bush. And headline number 4, great, racist chickens. All right, Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
This little light of mine.
I'm going to let it shine. That's what a gentleman was singing recently in Las Vegas. I guess at the Las Vegas Strip. 26-year-old Gavin Hamilton was at the Fontainebleau, Las Vegas. He was running around doing what he wanted to do in the stairwells when he accidentally triggered the building's sprinkler system. It was an incident that actually prompted a counterterrorism response. Well, it's because Gavin was wandering around with, well, in his backpack, he had a bong, he had some meth, and, oh, yeah, a home improvised flamethrower. He said someone
not the Elon Musk.
No, not at all. He said that someone was chasing him through the stairwells and he had to pull out his home improvised flamethrower. It's a little 3-foot long hose that came out, and he shot flames into the stairwell, which triggered the sprinkler system, and he was covered with black liquid and some foam and stuff like that. So, yes, he said, but they couldn't find the people, nor on the security cameras, the people that were chasing him. Maybe it was the meth. I don't know. But still, I just look at the idea that somehow this guy has managed to, home DIY a flamethrower. It just so many questions. And I bet Blake has some questions, too, about our next story. Headlines, Blake, new housing plan, bird hand something something bush, or great racist chickens.
Bird hand something something.
All right, bird hand something something bush. Buffalo, New York is the state of where we're going to now. Oh, because troopers recently arrested a 25-year-old woman, Elizabeth Percy, early in the morning for drunk driving. However, they weren't initially trying to arrest Miss Percy because they were already occupied with 34-year-old Richard Morrow of Lockport, who was slumped over his steering wheel at the side of the road. Yes, the troopers were investigating 34-year-old Morrow and why he was not piloting his vehicle while being pass-out drunk when Elizabeth came by and smash right into one of the police vehicles.
Oh.
Yes, she was drunk too. I just look at this and think the cars weren't moving and you still managed to hit them. And they were the cars that had the blue and red flashy things on the top and you still couldn't avoid them. Nice job. Wow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Decisions and choices.
Such a dangerous job.
Yes, I know. The fact that they're parked by the side of the road and all of a sudden just pow, another drunk driver. So they got
you for the saw that happen yesterday too.
Yeah.
Colorado Department of Transportation.
Yes. So same thing. All right.
Dangerous.
Jeff. Final choice, new housing plan or great racist chickens?
As a chicken owner, let's check in on those racist chickens.
I thought about you and I found this story. Racist chickens, maybe just in Japan, though. A woman in Japan has gone viral when she cracked open an egg to find the yolk as white as the egg itself.
Interesting.
Yeah, very unusual appearance. It quickly went viral. She actually went ahead and made an omelet with it and then had another person tag her in a video saying, yeah, I had white yolks as well, and it's just as flavorful as the regular egg. She even revealed that after marinating the egg in soy sauce to make it a certain character, the yolk still retained the white color. They're not sure why. She said she purchased the eggs at a farmer's market, but in step the science hippies. They say that it's based on the food and the diet of the chickens.
Really?
That chickens that are fed mostly on rice don't absorb xanthan, and which is the yellow chemical. So because of that, you get white yolks if you feed the chickens rice only.
Oh, interesting.
Racist chickens. Who knew?
It's that time of year to feed them all your pumpkins, too.
Yes, it is. All right.
All right. When we continue, we got an update on Phil Weiser. He told a whopper yesterday. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Which friend were you? You Joey?
No.
Chandler? Ross?
I was Ross.
Were you Ross?
Oh, yeah, 110%. I was the nerd kid. 110%. I mean, everyone that knew it.
Paleontologist? Is that what he was?
Yeah, I can go through. I can go through my dinosaurs. Yeah, in fact, there's still a story. Clayton used to work at the Denver Zoo. My dad was a really good friend of his, and how as 5-year-old, I'm sitting there talking to him and asking about the Archaeopteryx. 5. Yeah, I was a weird kid.
Archaeopteryx?
Yeah, Archaeopteryx. It's the first feathered dinosaur. Again, I can go way down the rabbit hole.
You can,
I can go way down.
Wow.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I was totally Ross because I wasn't weird enough to be Chandler as far as having the weird things, but also it wasn't cool.
Chenandler Bong.
Yeah, Ms. Chenandler Bong.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And when they do the throwback into the new wave 80s stuff, like, yeah, that was Ross.
That is funny. Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's 7:01 on this Thursday, September 5th. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show.
We were on
710 KNUS. We were just on a break. We're trying to bring you, to the best of our ability, the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you woke up in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls, but don't text.
Yeah, I can't text. Text machine's broken.
The text machine's broken this morning.
I don't know what happened to it. So far, we have poured water on it and yelled at it, and that doesn't work. So Mark Crowley's doing something else because we've exhausted all of our options. That's as much as tech knowledge that we have. That's it. That's all we know how to do.
So you can call us at 303-696-1971 because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news and commentary with Blake Olson, a little original reporting because I love our listeners enough that I will spend the time with the tens of people all over the country on the White Dudes for Harris Zoom call that included Phil Weiser yesterday.
Love that. Tens of people. Nicely done. That's fantastic. I can't wait to hear about your experience.
I took a picture right at the start of the view count on the YouTube, and I may be exaggerating the tens of people because there was a whopping 800 people nationwide
on the
White Dudes for Kamala Harris. And you had some big names. Mark Cuban was on there, a bunch of basketball players, all that stuff. And then Phil Weiser.
And Spike Lee.
Spike Lee.
Wait,
that's right.
It's like Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. Which one doesn't belong?
Phil Weiser made a comment about Kamala Harris that I just went, I've never heard that before. So then I spend time diving into it, and lo and behold, can't find much evidence about it.
Oh, that's weird.
So Phil might be telling a whopper. We'll get to that in just a second. But let's first check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning. Did you guys see the photo with the Walls family with the Trump T-shirts?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the Nebraska side of the family. Yeah.
Nebraska side of the family.
That was great.
Did you see they had Babylon Bee today that Tim Walz's dog was supporting Donald Trump, and they have a picture of Tim Walz's dog with the Walls for Trump shirt on and all that stuff.
I love it. That's great. Babylon Bee is awesome. 56 and cloudy in Denver. In the Denver area, there are some clouds and some showers here and there. Expecting a high of 76 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story: a 14-year-old student entered Appalachia High School with an AR-15 style weapon, killing 2 students and 2 teachers on Wednesday. 9 others injured. President Biden released a statement shortly after saying that he and his family are mourning the deaths caused by senseless gun violence. He called on Republicans in Congress to work with Democrats to pass common sense gun safety legislation. Now, it sounds like it could have been worse had it not been for an armed police officer in the school.
Blake, I did active shooter training with the Las Vegas Police Department at one point, and it's wild what they trained you. So back in the old days with Columbine, it was like, they're going to take a set of hostages. We'll negotiate the hostages and figure all that
Right.
stuff. They had never expected that somebody just wanted to inflict as much death as they possibly could.
Exactly.
And so now what they do to train you is you just run at it. You are sacrificing your life at this point. You
That's right.
run wherever the gunshots are happening and you run right into it. You assess the situation as quickly as you possibly
That's
can.
right.
And you seek to put pressure, any type of pressure that you can on the active shooter, because a lot
No
of these
doubt.
people are just total dorks. Sorry. These are not highly trained weapons specialists. These are people that the slightest hint of pressure fold like a wilted flower. So you just try to get that on them. You saw it in the Tennessee shooting where they just got in there and then put ammo right onto that person that was doing that.
Correct.
And we'll see what happened here. But thank God we have people that run to the gunfire and are willing to sacrifice their own lives to stop it.
Well, when you have a uniformed officer, one or two, to me, at the front doors, they're locked. The side doors are locked. I mean, that can only help, deter it. And once you see anything from parking lots or whatever, no, you're right. It has to be more aggressive. And boy, how things have changed. And I agree with you. Thank God they do that. And when I see the guys at our school where my kids go, I just thank the Lord for them. And I tell them, thank you for what you do. Their presence is crucial. And I think that's, do I want more guns at the school? Yeah. If they're on officers and people who are trained. Former President Trump in Pennsylvania on the campaign trail asked about the shooting and much more last night on Fox News Channel.
Well, it's a sick and angry world for a lot of reasons, and we're going to make it better. We're going to heal our world. We're going to get rid of all these wars that are starting all over the place because of incompetent American leadership. And we're going to make it better. Viktor Orban made a statement. They said, bring Trump back and we won't have any problems. He was very strong about that. So we're going to hopefully do very well. We have an election coming up. And actually, they keep saying 60, but it starts in Delaware and North Carolina and other places a lot sooner than that.
And then one of the absolute worst, Liz Cheney officially endorsing Kamala Harris for president.
Yeah, Blake, I got to be honest. I don't understand why they do this. Like, I get that you don't like Donald Trump. Okay, I understand that. And I know Liz Cheney. It was my job to drive her around Colorado during the Romney campaign. So I got to know her.
Tell her I don't like her.
And at this point, you just feed into everything that Donald Trump has said about you, that you're really a Democrat. And then you go and you're like, okay, I'm going to get you back by supporting a Democrat.
Yes. And a extreme leftist, socialist, communist. I mean, this is what happens when you look at personality. You don't like the personality. What? Okay. I mean, think about the country, Liz Cheney. So that's why she was ousted in Wyoming.
That's exactly right.
She's not a conservative.
And they have a good one up there
class.
too. The woman that replaced her, we hosted her at the summit last year.
She's awesome. Man, she's done it. Yeah, she's done a great job, man. She's not messing around. I just hope she holds the line in DC. All right, the DOJ is accusing Russia of trying to influence the U.S. presidential election. On Wednesday, Attorney General Merrick Garland detailed the Russian campaign to interfere with the election. How about Garland? What has he done or not done to influence the election? Lawfare, weaponizing the justice system, trying to jail political opponents. Merrick Garland. All right, 12 jurors and 4 alternates were chosen Wednesday. They'll hear the case against Ahmad Alyssa, who's charged with gunning down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder. The 25-year-old pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity last November following a diagnosis of schizophrenia. The judge says that the trial will last 3 weeks. Aurora police say 4 people arrested in connection with the July shooting have ties to the Venezuelan gang Trende Aragua. 24-year-old Hunardi Pacheco Chirinos is charged with attempted murder, while his brother and 2 alleged accomplices face additional charges, including tampering with evidence. The shooting wounded 2 men and left a 3rd person with a broken ankle. Savannah Hernandez just doing an outstanding job on X covering all this chaos.
So I just wanted to give you guys a look at what some of the communities throughout not just Aurora and Denver, but everywhere in between are starting to look like as a result of the migrant crisis. All of these cars completely line the block and they go all the way around. I was really shocked when we started driving down here.
Some are stolen. The license plates aren't updated. You see that. You drive around the city of Denver, you see that all over the place. A man faces charges after police say he tried to board a school bus in Fort Collins on Tuesday. It happened while the bus was stopped near Murphy Center, where a security guard saw what was happening and stopped the man from boarding. This resulted in an altercation, and the guard suffered minor injuries. The man was arrested on several charges, including 3rd-degree assault, 2nd-degree trespassing, and resisting arrest. 53 in Parker, 51 in Boulder, and 56 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A little bit of moisture that came in yesterday from a Pacific front will linger early in the day. It'll be cooler, just 70s in Denver, and a few showers and thunderstorms will be possible. Clearing tonight, lows in the low to mid-50s, back to dry weather, sunny and warm, 80s Friday, 80s Saturday, 80s to near 90 for Sunday and Monday. Only a few isolated mountain thunderstorms this weekend. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So yesterday, the White Dudes for Harris had their little Zoom conference call. Hoops for Harris. They brought in Spike Lee. They brought in a whole bunch of basketball people. And time for time, I'll tune in to see what they're talking about. The last time I did this, they did a big call in Colorado. Jared Polis and Michael Bennett and John Hickenlooper and all these people. And there were 500 people on the Zoom in total. So, they're not the most exciting things to spend your evening doing. But I noticed yesterday there was someone among Spike Lee, among all of these basketball notoriety, among Mark Cuban, among former basketball stars, was Phil Weiser, the Attorney General of Colorado. So I decided to tune in on it. And Phil only spoke very briefly, as you could imagine, but he said something about Kamala Harris that piqued my interest. Here's Phil Weiser yesterday on a White Dudes for Harris Zoom.
She was an attorney general in California, and she worked as a leader of the team of AGs. You heard about this at the convention, taking on the big banks, making sure that they were held accountable for the mortgage foreclosure mess. That leadership she showed made a difference. She also took on big tech, working on protecting kids and addressing what still is a real challenge, where these apps are harming young people.
So part of it piqued my interest because, one, I can hear partway through his statement, he realized he made a mistake.
Yeah.
You can hear it there at the end. Listen again when he realizes he's attributed to something to Kamala Harris that's still a big problem, right? So our kids and their use of apps and their protection of privacy and the fact that big tech has gone after trying to addict these kids to stuff is still a really major problem. He admits it. So Phil Weiser admits that something that he believes Kamala Harris has tried to take on is actually still a really big problem. Maybe he shouldn't have mentioned it. Listen again.
She was an attorney general in California, and she worked as a leader of the team of AGs. You heard about this at the convention, taking on the big banks, making sure that they were held accountable for the mortgage foreclosure mess. That leadership she showed made a difference. She also took on big tech, working on protecting kids and addressing what still is a real challenge, where these apps are harming young people.
She took it on, but no, it's still a real problem. So I had never heard that. In all of the claims about Kamala Harris, about her leadership and the great things she did as an attorney general, I had never heard she had taken on big tech to try to protect kids. Now, the banking issue, yes, we hear about that a lot. She sued the banks over the foreclosure issues, got a settlement for the state of California.
I got some issues,
and that was distributed. But go ahead.
I have some huge issues. Not arguing with you. Huge issues with Kamala Harris on what she did with the banks.
Yeah,
I have some tremendous issues on why. And again,
Interesting.
there are a lot of people that say, I got a call yesterday, you love Kamala Harris so much. No, there are a couple of things. I absolutely detest her on this and what she did during the mortgage loan crisis.
Yeah.
She rolled over and played ball. It was atrocious. It is something I still hate her for.
I thought they said that she backed away from the table and got more money for the people of California.
With the Standard & Poor's settlement.
Yeah.
Not the one that came to her desk earlier.
Interesting.
She ignored that one and let it fall. Now, here's the really fun part. Okay. All right. Listeners, Jeff and Bill show. I'm going to twist your brain a little bit here. This is how nefarious some of this power works. Let me give you an example. Kamala Harris had a mortgage lender dead to rights. It is universally, and I forget the name because I forgot about it this morning, forget the name, but they were universally viewed as one of the worst in the nation. They were slime balls. They were people that were taking deeds from people's in their houses using fake documents. They were backdating claims. They were making claims they never had authority to claim and were saying things that weren't true. They were taking people's houses based on inventing paperwork. They were criminals. She had them dead to rights, didn't prosecute, let it pass. Guess who the CEO of that big finance company was? Former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin was the CEO of that mortgage lender.
Wow.
Let's make this even worse. Where did Steve get his money to start it? Where did he get his money from? George Soros. It was a George Soros investment company that invested with Steve Mnuchin to create one of the worst predatory lending practices in America. Kamala had him, and she let him go. I will never forgive her for that. Never.
If I had on my bingo card, Billy goes and connects George Soros to Steve Mnuchin to Kamala Harris.
I told you.
I would be like, that's not going to get covered today.
No way. But I'll break your brain on that. Yeah. That's how dirty it was. And you want to know why? In my opinion, it's because the money involved. Because of Mnuchin's connections, because of Soros's connections, everybody else. They were able to pull the strings that Standard & Poor's couldn't. Yeah. I hate her for that. She had them, and she could have helped a lot of people. So when she stands out there and says, I helped all these people, I look at her and say, not all the ones you could have. Not all the ones you could have. You could have done better. Yeah, I dislike her tremendously for that.
And then one of the problems I had with that settlement that went to the state of California is they, true to form, didn't track where the money went.
Yeah, of course. Why would you do that? That's silly. All of us have budgets every month, and we have no idea where the money goes. We don't track that at all. Why would you want to do that?
So Phil Weiser makes this statement about Kamala Harris taking on big tech to protect kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I've never heard that before.
Me
so I go
either.
to the Googles, type into the Googles, and up pops just about the exact opposite of that claim in every single article.
Yeah.
Here's one from Jacobin, not a well-known right-wing conservative news publication. In fact, I get the sense that they're more progressive. But this is the headline: tech monopolies like Google have a friend in Kamala Harris. And in fact, if you go to the part about children, she says that one of the issues that has come up is this kind of high profile of issue of this point relates to children and their use of technology in a way that may harm them. She was being interviewed at an event about Google. So I would suggest to you, based on the work that I've done, that the best way to deal with what is essentially children and tech issues is prevention, which means educating the parents and teachers and the community that is raising the child to understand that technology in a way that they can teach the child what we otherwise teach children when we cross the street.
Yeah, because that's worked so well.
So she actually puts the onus not on big tech, but on parents and children. It's the exact opposite. She doesn't go at big tech at all.
And let's walk through how stupid her response is. And it is. It is absolutely stupid, because the idea is, well, parents, I want you to have this conversation with your children about the dangers of social media,
smoking.
And now, I want to show you these apps that are adults only. These are apps that adults use. Children don't get to use them.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And as we know, as your example, smoking, alcohol, driving before you get your license, having sex before marriage, the one thing, using naughty words, the one thing we are guaranteed is that if children are told by their parents it's an adult thing, don't do it, they never do it, do they? Never. Once the parents perfectly explain, crystal clear, that's an adult thing, no touchy. Children never do anything with it. Never. No. We know that's not a drive. It's not a drive for kids when they're young to start using the curse words like mom and dad do, or to sneak a cigarette, sneak a drink, or have sex before marriage, like the adults. No, never happens. Yeah, that's great. She's wrong on this.
In a later interview, she refers to big tech as family. And she wants more regulations, but she was very clear as both attorney general and senator that she did not want government stepping in to control and affect big tech.
Yeah.
These were her people. Think about it. San Francisco DA. She comes from that area. Was it her dad at Stanford? Her mom?
Yeah. Well, she was at
research. All that stuff.
She was at the wedding of one of the original Facebook founders.
Oh, yeah.
She's buddies with a lot of people in those tech startups because they ran in the same circles. These were rich people trying to start businesses. The local DA in San Fran is very influential as far as getting through regulations. You've got to have a working relationship with that office. You have to. So she knew a lot of them. She hung out with a lot of them. Yeah,
called
absolutely.
them family.
Yep,
called them family.
And is it the one surprise, the one time she's not talking about government rules and regulations? Is here. everything else, lots of rules and regulations. But this is the one where she's like, no, let's see what the market does.
With regards to government intervention, she says, we can't stand in the way of business growth and development.
Yes. Unless it's a different industry, then we can.
Unless it's the green energy,
or
right?
If it's fracking, fracking. No. We need all these rules. We need to do all this other stuff because that's a bad industry and doing damage to the. Wait, it was damage. I forget what she was. It was. Oh yeah, families and kids. That's what she said. The fracking was a danger too, but with the tech stuff, no, not so much. It's weird. It's weird sometimes in politics.
She went on to say, I want these relationships. I want to cultivate them because I want you. She's talking to big tech executives to be an advisory group. I want to be able to say, look, guys, this is what I've got. Tell me what you see as the way we get to where we need to be. Gosh, that's classic Kamala Harris word salad.
Oh, yeah.
What does the design look like? And Harris concluded, we're family.
But she doesn't offer the same olive branch to the oil and gas industry. That's weird. Very, very strange. And she's talking out of both sides of her mouth. Yeah, she does. Yep, absolutely.
And you get into donations. So
Oh,
Fox News, are you ready for this?
Oh, okay. Wait, hang on. Get a deep breath. Okay, I'm ready.
Overall,
Yeah.
73% of contributions from Amazon affiliated donors have gone to Democrats.
Ooh.
Alphabet, Google's parent company, donors have also favored Democrats, providing 82% of their contributions, with only 17% going to Republicans. The online marketplace giant hasn't deviated from previous donations during the 2020 election. Amazon funneled millions of dollars to then candidate Joe Biden, far more than contributors gave to Republican Donald Trump. Figures published by the Center for Responsive Politics show that Amazon workers gave more than $2.2 million to Biden's presidential campaign during the election, and $937,000 to DNC. Republican queries seem elsewhere on social media, and they're talking about why should I vote for Donald Trump? But you remember, Alexa declined to provide such information. So here you have. Let's pull it all together for you guys. Okay? You have a tremendous amount of tech dollars going to Biden in 2020, almost none going to Trump. A lot of tech dollars going to Kamala Harris. Kamala calls big tech her family. And then you get all of these very suspicious efforts to suppress information about Donald Trump via tech, whether it's information about the assassination attempt, whether it's the Alexa debacle that we talked about yesterday, where they'll tell you, oh, the great things to vote for Kamala Harris. It's really historic opportunity to put the first black woman into the presidency. Alexa will tell you all about that. Won't tell you anything about why you should support Donald Trump. And then you get Phil Weiser with a whopper of a story about how Kamala Harris is going to take on big tech. And there's no evidence. I couldn't find any. So, Attorney General, I'm throwing down the gauntlet for you. In light of all of this, in the light of the fact that Kamala Harris repeatedly has said she will not stand in the way of the development of big tech, that she puts the responsibility on parents and teachers to educate children, on the fact that all of big tech seems to support Kamala Harris and rig the system against Donald Trump, please, Attorney General, Professor, explain to me where Kamala Harris has ever taken on big tech in an effort to protect kids. You said it yesterday on a national Zoom affiliated with Kamala Harris. You did it from your car. You told the whole nation that Kamala Harris has taken on, 800 people. Thank you.
Yeah.
You told the whole 800 people watching, white dudes for Harris, that Kamala Harris is taking on big tech to protect kids. She's in bed with them. She calls them family. She has never indicated she wants to stand up to them. They're pouring money into her campaign, and they're rigging their own tech to support her. Please tell me where she has, quote, taken on big tech for protecting kids.
And that's the important part, is that prepositional phrase, for protecting kids.
Yes.
Because he'll try to bring out some sort of lawsuit or something else where she went after big tech for something else.
Right.
It's the qualifier. It is that dependent clause for protecting kids. That's the issue.
Exactly right.
That's the issue.
We're going to get to phone calls here. I look at all this. I see collusion and I see rigging. What do you see? 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. We'd love to text you, but the text machine's not working right.
Yeah. And again, I've yelled at it a number of times and so far that doesn't work. So I'm out of ideas. I don't know what else to do.
Hopefully we can get that up and running.
Yeah.
Al, we'll get to you in just a second. Look, I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kapler's Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. He's a serious lawyer with a serious firm taking on serious cases. But he's not just for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call. 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dankapluslaw.com. That's dankapluslaw.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff Bill Show. So, Attorney General Phil Weiser on a national Zoom call with tens of people. No, about a few hundred, 800 or so when it started. White dudes for Harris. You've heard of this before. And I believe, I don't want to assume somebody's race, but I think he's a white dude.
I think so.
Can't assume genders anymore, but,
No.
you know. You assume a race. So Phil Weiser joins white dudes for Harris, and he makes this claim, and I go, what?
She was a attorney general in California, and she worked as a leader of the team of AGs. You heard about this at the convention, taking on the big banks, making sure that they were held accountable for the mortgage foreclosure mess. That leadership she showed made a difference. She also took on big tech, working on protecting kids and addressing what still is a real challenge, where these apps are harming young people.
So Weiser makes two big mistakes. One, he attributes an ongoing problem to Kamala Harris. She took on big tech and in an effort to protect kids. And it's still a really big problem. So then you attribute the problem that we're seeing today to her failure to take it on. But then I had never heard the claim that Kamala Harris had taken on big tech. And in fact, it's the exact opposite. She's one of the most highly funded candidates by big tech. She has specifically said, I don't want to get in the way of their development.
Yeah.
And when asked about kids and protecting them, she puts the onus on teachers and parents, saying it's up to them to protect kids.
Yeah.
So Phil Weiser tells a whopper. And my challenge to Phil, prove me wrong. Where is she taking on big tech to specifically protect kids? Let's go to the phone lines. Al, Aurora, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Al.
Morning.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Bill. Out here in Aurora and tired of the ignorance that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, but appreciate what you guys do.
Glad to have you on. What's on your mind?
Well, explain to me exactly why the big tech people would even want to support Harris over Trump.
So that's a question I wrestle with. I think it might be affiliation with social issues is one of them. But two, she's delivering for him.
Yeah, although the one that I would lay on the table that would be a negative on the side of big tech is the Republicans lately have been talking about banning things like TikTok. So when you talk about which party is looking at creating an outright ban for a particular social media app, it is more likely at this point to be Republicans than Democrats. So if I had
you guys
to guess, that's what I think.
I think you're about 65% correct. If I would have to say more or less, you got it.
That's
like
a C. That's a C, Billy.
Woo, passing.
Go ahead, Al.
But I don't think you guys are fully grasping it entirely as far as all of the intricacies of it and all of that stuff. But more or less, it seems like you sort of know what's going on and stuff like that with it. But
tell us what you think's going on.
Well, it's just you're oversimplifying it. It's a lot of like complex ideas that not a lot of people necessarily understand, my dude. And like, you're just sort of turning it into an oversimplification, but it's like more or less you kind of have an idea, it sounds like, about what's going on, but you just don't really have the full picture, I feel like.
But I want to understand the whole picture.
Yeah, help our audience.
Well, I want you to as well. You're on a radio show, speaking to a large audience of people. Yes, ideally, the people doing that would understand the full picture of what they're discussing and sort of understand all of the elements of it. And I think you're almost there. I mean, you're doing a pretty good job. I'd say
the thing is, you're on this radio station speaking to just as many people, and twice now.
I'm speaking to two people. I'm speaking to Jeff, and I'm speaking to Bill.
No, you're talking to the audience as well. This isn't a private conversation. They can hear you. I mean, it may be a shock, but the rest of the audience, our listeners, can hear you as well.
Well, I think
and we've asked you, Al, we've asked you twice.
I don't want to talk.
We've asked you twice
to them.
Well, but
I
you're
feel
more
like
than willing. But you're more than willing to talk down to us. We've asked you twice
Well, I
to
think
explain.
they're aware of it. Probably they probably know the complexities of what we're dealing with. They're probably listening to this and saying, "Thank God we've got a call in like Al, who's sort of on top of this."
Yeah, but a
type
call
of
in. Hang on a sec, Al. But a call in that refuses to give the details. Hang on a sec. You're giving yourself a lot of props. You're sitting here patting yourself on the back, and you're
I'm
sitting
not
here
doing any patting.
Yes, you are. You're saying you just said the listeners are saying.
I said you guys more or less.
Al, stop. We're going to exchange here. You just said the listeners are excited because they know as much as you do about this. And they say, finally, we have someone like Al on the phone that is getting it because these two clowns don't. That's patting yourself on the back. You did it. Don't run away from it. Now I'm going to go back to the question that Jeff asked you. Help us understand. Give us the larger picture, please.
Okay, so I mean, when we're talking about complex issues like this, and I think probably you guys aren't used to trafficking in this level of discourse. You guys are surface level discourse.
Hey, Al, I'm going to stop you right there.
peddlers.
How long have you listened to the show?
I've listened to it for longer than you've been on it.
Well, I was on the show when it started. That's
right.
very strange. Al, you have no idea what you're talking about.
I
You just
appreciate it.
Yeah, you called in to just throw rocks. Man. We've asked you direct questions several times, and you avoid them. I'm calling BS on the fact that you have the knowledge, because if you had the knowledge, you'd let us know. You didn't.
Al,
over and over again, you self-aggrandized.
Smoking pot when you wake up, buddy.
You self-aggrandized, and you didn't address the issue. If you want to address the issue, the phone number's there anytime. And the fact that you didn't understand you were talking to the listeners at the same time you were talking to us gives me a lot of insight into your depth and complexity of thought as well. But I really hope you have a good day.
Yeah, bro, you got to stop waking up and token, man. All right. Billy is both doing phone calls and we've got reads coming up. Let me tell you about advanced hair restoration. These are great, folks. Look, you know the Jeff and Bill show was rated the top talk radio show by Westward. Well, advanced hair restoration, top hair restoration for many of us. It's happening. Your hair is thinning, your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I've got good news. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help maintain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently, specifically in certain areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Paul's, it's not maybe will your hair grow. It's guaranteed that your hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. advancedhair.com.
Jeff,
All right.
you are right, Jeff, that the Advanced Hair does a great job, and I wanted to break our rules because I like to break rules here. And before we go to our break, I wanted to bring in Neil. Neil's calling in, and he said that he really appreciated Al's phone call. Neil, welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, and I think you could tell that I was being very sarcastic about that.
So what were you thinking about it, man? What did you think after the call?
Well, you know, I don't have anything on the actual topic that you addressed what he was trying to chime in about, but it irritates me when people call in and think that they know everything, and then they try to minimize you guys in the process or anyone else that calls in. I think that's arrogant, and I think it's very as you put it, aggrandizing. And where do you get off with such an hostile perception?
Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you, Neil. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's hear your voice.
It's fun to have Neil give us that support.
That's cool.
Yeah, Al was a troubled soul.
Yeah.
When you're given the opportunity to expand, because he said we were 65% there.
Yeah. And so,
so that means we have 35% left to go.
And all he had to do was tell us something he lacked the ability. So, alrighty then. This is fun.
2012 and the Pop Ballot Initiative has been great for Colorado. All right, we'll get to you next, Jay. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Make sure to inhale.
Well, that was an interesting call, Billy.
Yeah, that was.
I appreciate Neil jumping in. And even Jay gave us a call, right?
Yeah, even Jay. Jay would say, yeah, that was very fun. And shout out to you, Jay. Appreciate you out there working the fields and helping us, put food on the table and everything. And he's like, that was weird. Look, Jay's comment was, do you think Al can vote? It was like, that's a little scary. That is a little scary. And I'll tell you something. I've had something scary going on in my life for years. And take a moment here to tell you about the pain that I've been living in. I have lived with pain for decades, but I'm no longer waking up every day and asking what's going to hurt and for how long because of my friends at Balance Wellspace. I want you to check them out, balancewellspace.com, because as we get older, things break down and things start to hurt. Back in the day, that's just life. You were supposed to live that way. You don't have to. There's so many amazing things that can take away the pain that you deal with every day. I have 2 vertebrae in my back that are fusing. The pain and tingling, the numbness that I was experiencing was unreal at times. Every day it felt like a small pocket knife in my back. Now I don't have any pain or any restrictive movement because of what they're doing at Balance Wellspace. I'm regenerating the meniscus in my left knee right now because of the team at Balance Wellspace. Let me explain what they can do for you. You show up at their brand new offices in Lowry. They do a personal examination. They ask you about what hurts. They do the examination. They also ask you about your goals. Then they put together a custom pain plan just for you, and then they go to work. In one office visit, you can get chiropractic care, neuropathy, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, so much more. I don't have time to list them all, but you're just moving from office to office and the entire team takes care of you. Talk to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, B, Sarah. Let them take away your pain like they're taking away mine. I feel like I'm literally 20 years younger because I don't have those constant aches and pains that I was dealing with every single day. You're in pain. You've got neuropathy. You don't need to deal with that anymore. Talk to my team at Balance Wellspace. It's integrative medicine, balancewellspace.com. Brand new offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2. Plenty of parking, huge parking lot, and the team is fantastic. Also, they reevaluate your care every couple of weeks to make sure you're meeting your goals. If something's not working right, they're going to change it. When's the last time your medical team talked about you? They don't. That's the problem. That's the difference Balance Wellspace will make. Balancewellspace.com. Balancewellspace.com. I want you to experience the change in your life that I'm experiencing right now, courtesy of that team. And tell me you heard about them on Jeff and Bill. Helps us a lot. Yeah.
Great to hear you're getting the treatment there, Billy.
It's nuts, man. I love this knee brace.
in the 8 o'clock hour, this is incredible. And thank you to Brian Maas, CBS 4, KDVR, and Denver Gazette. You literally right now have a split happening in news in Colorado.
Those that are doing reporting and those that are just doing the feelings.
Yeah, and going, a press release from the city of Aurora.
Yeah, we will read this.
We will read this online. So the split is happening over the Venezuelan gang issue in Aurora and what's happening at those apartment complexes, okay? When we get back, there is a law firm report that CBS News, Channel 4, Brian Maas discovered that claims Venezuelan gangs have had a stranglehold on apartments, including child prostitution that began in 2023.
Wait, when?
Last year, Billy. Last year.
Crap. Gotta be kidding me. This is great.
This you're not going to want to miss. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, September 5th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center, and sometimes from Al. When Al gets up,
that was fun.
Has a toke and decides to call the show.
I know that was really fun. Oh, and on a side view, do you recognize the music here? One of the greatest '80s one-hit wonders ever.
Never heard of him. Is it Michael Jackson?
Okay, got to bring up my man Blake Olson, Newsroom.
Eye to eye, eye to eye.
Yeah, but what's the band? You know it. Yeah, you know the song. Yeah,
man, it's I
never heard of this band.
Spandau Ballet.
No, it's not Spandau Ballet, but good choice.
It connects to Bill.
They had 3.
It connects to Bill in some capacity.
Yeah,
Boy
and it's about
George.
being shy. No, it's about the song is the name Too Shy.
Oh, Too Shy.
And
that's
Too
what
Shy.
it
Yeah,
is.
Too Shy. Now,
Shy to
yep.
Too shy to
Yeah. Okay. I know we're totally ruining
Bunch
the
of
show.
old men off
exactly.
tune singing.
Now, who is that '80s one-hit wonder? They had only one song. They tried to come back later on and redo it, and the magic just wasn't there. What's the name? It's a really odd name for that band. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Purple.
Nope. Starts with a K.
Oh,
I know.
oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's Kaja Gugu.
Kaja Gugu.
Yes.
I've actually,
Yeah.
I
See, everybody would
that.
know as soon as you say Kaja Gugu,
Yeah.
Too Shy. Everybody in the '80s is like, oh yeah. Yeah, it's like Soft
that's
Cell,
right.
Tainted Love. Yeah, everyone knows the song, but has no idea who plays it.
I
Yeah.
hated the '80s, and
Dude, the '80s were awesome.
I hated the
They were
80s.
so
I hate
cool.
'80s music.
Oh, you know.
70s rock.
Well, that's all the time. Nope, Blake can't join us anymore. No, I'm kidding. We'll have to do music another morning, my friend. Thank you. You're the best,
Jeff,
Blake.
anything?
Yeah, anything resonating here?
No, not at all.
Jeff was like, I had New Kids on the Block. In my
Right.
Yeah, no.
Jeff, you got to do your thing, though. I think I interrupted you.
Yeah, sorry about that. That was me.
Yeah,
That's
sorry.
you know me. I'm the one that interrupts and derails
the
everything
first
here.
music that ever popped into my head was Crisscross is gonna make you jump. The guys that wore their
Chris
pants
Cross.
backwards.
Yep, Chris
Yeah,
Cross.
that was
Yep.
good stuff.
Yeah.
I
What
like
were their
that.
names? They had 2 different names, but they were reversed.
Chris and Cross.
No, it was Mac Daddy and Daddy Mac.
Yes.
Again, I can't do long division, but that stuff is stuck in this noggin. There's a problem. There are things I
That's
cannot
awesome.
remove, and it's horrible. Yeah, that's how useless I am.
No, you're not useless.
To talk to my wife and my kids. All right, we got to get back to the regularly scheduled program here. I derail these things all the time. All right, back to the Daddy Mac.
No, is it my is it my turn? I
Yes,
gotta
it is.
clean
Yeah.
this up. All
Yes, you do.
right.
I left and that's
Well,
your turn.
Grab a cup of coffee, Denver, because this circus is going to continue with the news and commentary from Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 57 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 76 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story: a teenager is in custody for the murders of 2 students and 2 teachers at Appalachia High School in Georgia, east of Atlanta. The 14-year-old boy will be tried as an adult for allegedly opening fire and killing 4 victims on Wednesday. Some reports say it could have been worse had it not been for the armed officer in the building. Russia says it will retaliate against American charges that members of the Russian media are trying to influence the U.S. election. The Biden administration filed money laundering charges against 2 employees of the RT network, saying they were part of a scheme to hire a U.S. company to produce online content to influence the presidential election. At the same time, when I hear this from Merrick Garland, I have to wonder what they're cooking up. Are they trying to distract us from what they're doing? We, the people, have to stay focused on them as well, not only the Russians. And now they have a track record, and it does not promote liberty. Speaking of no freedom, no liberty, Lizzie Cheney at it again. Wolf in sheep's clothing just has to endorse lefty lunatic, the one and only Kamala Harris, Kamala Khan.
Blake,
yes.
How many Republicans do you think out there are going to vote for Kamala Harris?
I would say not even 2%.
So they have three options, right?
Yes.
If you don't like Trump and you're a Republican, you just go, look, this is a binary choice between a communist that's going to continue to destroy our economy, threaten our civil liberties, or Donald Trump, right? So I'm even if I don't like him, I'm still going to pull the lever for him. Then you'll have people that I think Mike Pence is never going to vote for Kamala Harris, but he's not going to vote for Donald Trump. He already said he's not going to vote for Donald Trump. And then I put Dick Wadhams in this category too. I don't think they're going to go over and pull the lever for Kamala Harris, but they're just going to sit at the top of the ticket and then they'll vote Republican on down. But then you have the people like Liz Cheney who are like, you know what? I'm going to get Donald Trump by voting for Kamala Harris. And I can't imagine there's that many people, because if you're generally a Republican at your core, like if you believe in Republican values, there's no way you pull the lever for Kamala Harris. I'm sorry. You just can't. I don't know how you get to that.
I don't care how much you hate the guy.
Right.
I don't care if they talked about my mother, tell you the truth. I mean, it's about your country.
That's right.
Put your country first.
That's exactly right.
She doesn't do that. And
you're
Wyoming knew it.
You're so angry. You're like, he insulted my family so much that I'm going to put a communist into the presidency.
Right, idiot.
Come on.
Yep. Turncoat. Here she is.
As a conservative, as someone who believes in and cares about the Constitution.
Wrong. No, you don't.
As a conservative, you're going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Right. You care about the Constitution, you're going to vote for her. You're an idiot. You're one of the worst.
You said it.
Continue.
I have thought deeply about this.
No, you have not. You don't think deeply about anything.
And
no, wait a minute. You think about how you can jail more January 6th bystanders
because of the danger that Donald Trump.
What danger? What danger? Well, I mean, it's more dangerous now, and it'll be even more dangerous if she's elected.
Poses. Not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris.
God, gross. She is gross. Trump in Pennsylvania on Fox News discussing a multitude of issues, including illegal immigration.
100 million people. You won't have Social Security. You won't have Medicare. You won't have anything already. If you take a look at the numbers, they're filling up and loading up Social Security, Medicare with illegal immigrants that have come into our country, many of them from jails and many of them from very bad places.
Yeah, does Lizzie care about that? Speaking of illegal, Aurora police say 4 people arrested in connection with the July shooting have ties to the Venezuelan gang Tren Aragua. 24-year-old Honardi Pacheco Chirinos is charged with attempted murder, while his brother and 2 alleged accomplices face additional charges, including tampering with evidence. The shooting wounded 2 men and left a 3rd person with a broken ankle. Once again, Savannah Hernandez, along with all the local media who are covering this correctly, as Jeff and Billy talked about. Savannah Hernandez on X, man, she's going after it.
And I am currently outside of one of the migrant apartments in this area. It is called Ivy Crossing. And as you guys can see behind me, this entire block is completely filled with broken down vehicles that are missing bumpers, that have expired license plates, maybe even no license plates at all, or slashed tires.
It's a mess. It's dangerous. Trying to cover it up. This is great. The exposure is out there. I love
Blake, I love the fact that the exposure is out there too, because look,
that's right.
When it comes to immigration in this nation, it's got to be assimilation. It is not healthy for this country to have little communities develop that don't embrace American values and live as if they're still in the country they came from. Exactly. Right. So if you create a little Venezuela here, and that little Venezuela looks a lot like the Venezuela you just came from, that's not good for the citizens of this country.
Yep.
It's not good for the people that came here. Even if you're an asylum seeker, whatever, and you have to live in these little communities that reflect the crime and the corruption that you just left and fled, that's not good either. And the way you expose this, or the way you fix this, is by exposing it.
Yes.
Thank God we have journalists down there that are covering this.
There are so many great independent journalists doing this. And man, that's what I do love about the internet. And smart. I mean, that's the best thing. And you made me think of this. Immigration without assimilation is invasion.
Yep.
And then when you have the welfare system, hey, immigration's fine, legal immigration is fine. That's
right.
Great. But you have to assimilate. You have to, or you create chaos, and then there goes your country. Ask the people of France and England and Germany, wherever, and then it's too late, and then you're the bad guy because hey, wait a minute, this used to be a great neighborhood, and then we're walking through it, and now you're calling us evil devils like they do in the no-go zones.
And you have every right to defend the health and well-being of your neighborhood and community.
Yes.
That doesn't mean we keep people out based upon their skin color.
No,
that's not it.
No.
That is it is if you have people that are illegally coming to this country and essentially recreating the country they fled in your neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah, you should stand up to it.
And they should be flying the American flag and saying, God bless America.
That's right.
This place is the greatest place in the world. We need to get back to that.
That's
Forget
right.
all this other garbage, man. But it's dangerous out there. And we'll keep up with Savannah Hernandez. 12 jurors and 4 alternates were chosen Wednesday. They'll hear the case against Ahmad Alyssa, who's charged with gunning down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder. The 25-year-old pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity last November following the diagnosis of schizophrenia. The judge says the trial will last 3 weeks. CDOT's executive director says Wednesday's deadly crash on Highway 6 in Mesa County is devastating heartbreak. 2 workers just finished fixing a street sign when an SUV struck them and hit their truck, killing both. And the passenger in the SUV also died. The state patrol chief blames a lane violation and reminds all drivers to slow down or move over for cars stopped on the side of the road. The NFL kicks off tonight with the Ravens and the Chiefs. Ariel Entine is a Washington Commanders vice president of content, and he may be looking for a new job soon. James O'Keefe exposing him in an undercover interview, one of his reporters. He put his foot in his mouth about 30 times, including saying that Commissioner Roger Goodell is a puppet. He's right, but he said it.
What about Roger?
Oh, yeah, he's a puppet.
So Roger's a puppet?
Yes, a $50 million puppet.
We'll see how long he has his job.
I do. I appreciate what James O'Keefe's doing, but he's kind of killing the go out and have a few drinks after work and then spout off and just unleash and all that stuff.
Here's the
no one's
weird
going to
part.
do that anymore.
The weird part for me is that I don't. Okay, you know me. I'm always the contrarian at times.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand why this is a surprise to many fans because the commissioner is employed by the owners. Of course, he is going to side with them every single time because that's who's signing his check.
Gives him his check.
Yes. I mean, and again, think about the idea of the scam, and I am using that intentionally, that is perpetrated over the idea that we have this independent commissioner and he is going to adjudicate what's going on inside of our sport. Wait, hang on. Aren't you paying him? Aren't you paying that dude? I think that if the union was paying the commissioner, he may side with the union a little bit more. Of course, he's a puppet. Yes, and again, and Roger Goodell is a muppet. In addition to a puppet, he is just everything that you need.
I'm going to bring it back to Kamala Harris getting her paychecks from big tech.
Yes, same thing.
Phil Weiser.
Same thing, man. Same thing.
No
yes,
doubt.
exactly.
Yeah, I think you may have gone a little too far on this one. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. It's the NFL.
Here's the other part, though, is that what's Goodell gonna do? What are you gonna do to me, bro? I pay you.
Exactly.
I mean, it's basically it's the dude that's had 6 beers at Chili's getting pulled over by the cop, going, "I pay your salary." That's what's happening.
You know
that's all it is.
What's driving me crazy in these videos? It looks like the same table in the same restaurant.
Yes.
Like,
You'd think they would start avoiding the restaurant.
right. Hey, wait a minute. This looks a little familiar here.
Wait,
what's
Yelp
going on?
How come all these people look like
you
James
know what
O'Keefe
they
and
do?
reviews?
They honeypot the guys. They get they get these. They get them off of dating apps. They send in a pretty little girl.
No doubt. Yep.
She films the whole thing, and like I said, James, I'm happy you're getting it. But it is kind of fun in our culture that after work. You go out, you get a few drinks, and then you start spouting off, and you'll never believe what I saw at my job.
Oh yeah!
And now it's going to be posted for the entire world to see.
Yeah, I know.
Man. No, and if you listen to this one, you got to listen to it, guys. It's pretty funny because it doesn't even sound like a date, man. it literally sounds like she's a reporter and she's an investigative reporter. Okay, what do you do for the Commanders? Let me write this down. Is that a quote? I mean, it doesn't even sound like a date at all. It's pretty funny, but
it's fantastic.
Yeah, good stuff. 55 in Lone Tree, 54 in Arvada, and 57 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A little bit of moisture that came in yesterday from a Pacific front will linger early in the day. It'll be cooler, just 70s in Denver, and a few showers and thunderstorms will be possible. Clearing tonight, lows in the low to mid-50s, back to dry weather, sunny and warm, 80s Friday, 80s Saturday, 80s to near 90 for Sunday and Monday. Only a few isolated mountain thunderstorms this weekend. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Like that, you got to come out, make a video, and just say, well, I'm getting a new job.
Yeah. Well, see, it's for them. I don't think he has to.
Should have seen her.
For that, I don't think he has to because he pays Goodell's salary. His team pays the salary. What are they going to do?
Well, not Goodell, the guy that got videoed.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying the guy. Oh, what are they going to do? He's telling the truth. He's telling the truth about it. What? And Roger's going to come out and go, you're exposing what I actually do or don't do. I mean, what's he going to do? Yeah, he's a puppet.
I think it's happened so frequently now.
Yeah,
the guys that, if you watch those videos when James O'Keefe gets you and they try to run away.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's great.
Do you remember when John Edwards tried to hide in the stairwell?
Yeah, in the stairwell. Oh,
I just think if you get popped like that, just be like, "Whew."
Now you
guys got me good.
Oh yeah,
got me good.
There's a story here in Colorado lore about a personal injury attorney, not one that advertises on the show because Dan Kaplan would never behave this way. But this personal injury attorney had a little bit of drinky, was driving around and shouldn't have been, and went and hid in a bush in order to avoid arrest. and the police officers, the story is literally walk over there and have their flashlights on the bush and go, and I'm not going to use the person's name because I'm just not on the air. And again, not Dan Kaplan because he's an upstanding, wonderful guy. They're shining lights going, you can come out now. Sit there for a second. We know you're in the bush. We can see you. You can come out now. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Out of the bush. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Tried to hide in a bush.
And guess what I'm Googling during the next break?
I'll tell you off air who it is, my friend. I'll tell you off air.
Let's go to the phone lines. Joe Arvada. Good morning, Joe. It's good to hear from you.
Good morning, Jeff. I saw Reagan last night with my parents. It was so awesome.
Oh, now,
Wasn't
Joe,
it
I got to
awesome?
ask you, man, what was your favorite scene? I haven't seen it yet. I'm trying to carve out time. What did you like the most in the movie? What was your favorite scene?
There was so many good things because I'm an 80s. Well, I came of age in the 80s. So there's a lot of personal stuff in there. But I liked several things, including when Reagan couldn't ride the horse anymore.
Yeah, that was very powerful.
Dennis Quaid
It's
is
the end of the
just
Mel
so
movie.
amazing.
It's one last ride. It's one last ride. That's how they
one
close the
last
film
ride.
out.
Oh, that's cool.
There was also the part where his wife, where Nancy is giving him support to run again. I like that because, it took a lot of courage after being defeated in the Ford primary to come back from it. And she was there with him all the way. And I do also like that they didn't go down the Democrat rabbit hole of Nancy Reagan's, weird astrology and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's unneeded.
No,
and I hear the thing about the movie that's really cool that Jeff, you pointed out, is how they tell it from the perspective of an older Soviet guy talking to a younger guy. That is a really, really clever vehicle in order to tell the story.
So there's this great crescendo in the film with the speechwriter of Reagan, and he starts out by camping on his lawn. And he's a hippie.
Wow.
And he's just like, man, I love Ronald Reagan so much. Is there any way I could? And Nancy comes out. Can I get 5 minutes with him?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, because if I give you 5 minutes, he's going to give you an hour. And we're so busy today, I can't do it.
Great.
And then Ronald walks out. Dennis Quaid walks out. He goes, what's going on? Then and the guy's like, Governor Reagan, I love you, man.
Oh, wow.
Could I get 5 minutes with you? And he's like, Nancy, get the coffee brewing. And they go.
Oh my gosh.
Well, anyways, at a certain point in Ronald's, at a low point in his presidency, he needs to shake things up. And so he brings the speechwriter back, and he shows up in the White House in flip-flops
great.
And a Hawaiian shirt. And everybody there's like, what's this guy doing? How'd he get in here? All that stuff. And then he becomes the chief speechwriter for Reagan. Well, the crescendo against the Soviet Union is the Berlin Wall speech.
Yes.
And so he wants Ronald Reagan to say it. And they've written it for him, and they slide it to him. They secretly hand it to him because the National Security Advisor doesn't want him to say it. You're going to disrupt this peace negotiation we're trying to have with Mikhail Gorbachev, all that. Don't say it. Don't say it. And so you have this great moment in the movie where he's like, say it. And you can see him crescendoing in the speech. And they're like, he's not going to say it. He's not going to say it. Say it. And the speechwriters, say it. And then he goes, and he pauses. And then he goes, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And then the speechwriters go crazy and all that stuff.
Fantastic.
So it is really cool how they built that up.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Amazing. Dennis Quaid is perfect. I don't even know how he did it. It was just, it was an amazing role. If he doesn't win Best Actor, there are somebody playing games.
I thought Dennis Quaid was good. I thought Penelope Ann Miller was the best actor in the film.
Oh yeah, she's good.
Well, okay.
Nancy Reagan.
That said, now here we have something today that ties into that.
Yeah, go ahead.
We would not even have George Bush if it wasn't for the Uniparty. We wouldn't have a Liz Cheney if it wasn't for the warmongering Uniparty. People should see this movie because it shows that Ronald Reagan wanted to end the possibility of nuclear war by establishing peace through strength. It's exactly the Trump position. The reason the world is on fire is because of these idiots, Uniparty and appeasement. Those two things do not work. The Uniparty vote is worthless. And when I say that, I am so happy, Liz Cheney, that you came out for Kamala Harris. Now every idiot warmonger out there can get aboard the Liz Cheney bandwagon. You guys are the reason our country is awful.
Doesn't her vote for Kamala Harris just fall and put her right in to the narrative that Donald Trump had about her all along, that she was just to your point, a uniparty liberal masquerading as a Republican.
Absolutely. And, Liz Cheney, if we had a Venn diagram, we got warmonger, moron, and lost their election by over 30%. Really, Liz Cheney, your vote, you should not. You can go over there with Joe Scarborough and be morons on MSNBC if you want, but don't. You're not a Republican and you're not a conservative. Please,
I am fascinated because I was in D.C. during this time with Bill Kristol. He used to, I think he used to be the editor of National Review.
Yeah, he was.
You had Bill Kristol, you had Liz Cheney, you've had a series of other Republicans that are now aligning themselves directly with Democrats. I'm just kind of at a loss of words as to why they aren't trying to, within the Republican Party, continue to shape it their direction. I mean, once you jump over, could Liz Cheney ever come back over and say, well, now I'm a Republican? No, you supported, you voted for a Democrat for president. How do you ever come back from that?
It's yes, us conspiracy folks, the people that I've been telling you all along, is that the conservative Republicans that are rhinos are the reason that this back and forth is going on, why we're in all these wars, why our money is worthless. This is exactly what we've been telling everybody, and now you, Liz Cheney, have proven it. You are nothing but uniparty fodder, and you are not what this country is about. And here I want to appeal to Democrats and people like Tim Walz's own brother, who knows that communism is not the way. That his own family has now come out in support of Trump. They don't want a commie in office, and so his own family is against him.
Yeah, now Joe, that
endorsement
means
way more than Liz Cheney.
Well, if that endorsement means a lot, then should we also give the same weight to the Kennedy family that says RFK is crazy, and members of Donald Trump's family that say you don't vote for him? So the idea that
Who
hey,
said
because
RFK is crazy?
the rest of his family.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Other uniparty jerks in the Kennedy family.
No, Joe, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that if the issue is that other members of the family say vote for somebody else, we can go through every candidate inside of this race right now, and we can say that. But I want to go back to something you and I talked about recently, and then you and I also talked about this a year ago. And I think you saw this a little clearer than I did at the time. And I want to explore what you're talking about as far as the party and getting the rhinos out. And I think it's interesting because when Jeff talks about Bill Kristol, when we talk about Liz Cheney, these are people that from the day they turned 18 were registered as Republicans. Now they're called rhinos right now, but the standard bearer in the Republican Party is only recently a convert. He's been a member of a variety of other parties, including the longest party membership he's ever had as a Democrat. So the question that I'm leading to on this one is Joe, is this not the Republican Party, but the Trump Party now? Your thoughts?
Well, I will say this to you, that the Republican Party has loaded up with Dick Cheney's, people that are out for one thing and one thing only: power and money. They don't care if your children die in a war. So those individuals that want us to just go over and spend endless blood in Ukraine and money and destroy our country, so that we can help enrich the war machine, Sperry or whatever. I shouldn't have said the name, sorry. But,
okay.
The point is, we have to stand up against that. We are Americans. This is what our country, we protect our country first. We don't protect Ukraine first. We protect our country first.
Joe, I appreciate the call.
Yeah,
appreciate the call. I just don't.
I see the uniparty. I see what you're saying on that.
I could see somebody coming back into the Republican fold if you just didn't vote at the top of the ticket.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure they're going to be allowed anymore.
When you go into Kamala, and I'm willing to vote for her, that level, I don't know if it just seems to me like you feed right into what Joe's saying. You're part of the Uniparty. Look, you are on the side of Kamala Harris. You were a Republican at one point. You're all part of the same party.
See, and that's the thing that I think Joe saw this earlier than I did, that the Republican Party is transforming into the Trump party, because if you disagree with Trump, you're thrown outside of the tent and then you're labeled as a rhino. We have local examples, we have regional examples, and we have national examples of that happening. These are long-term Republicans.
You get thrown out of the tent, and rather than find your way back into the tent, you join the other tent.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're not allowed.
That's weird to me.
But you're not allowed to be back in the tent because, again, you're given the label of rhino. You're a Republican in name only, and now you're not allowed in the tent because your words don't matter. And this is what I'm saying. If Liz Cheney would have wanted to come back in and say, hey, I can do X, Y, and Z for the Republican Party, but I disagree with some of Trump's policies, she wouldn't be allowed back in. She just simply wouldn't. And even Mike Pence is somewhat of a persona non grata. I mean, he didn't speak at the Republican National Convention. He's not out there being a surrogate for Donald Trump. He's been, he's been excommunicated from the Church of Trump. And that's why I think that there is going to be a reckoning, or there's going to have to be some looking in the mirror after Donald Trump moves on, as far as what is the Republican Party, because I think right now it is the Trump party, no longer Republican party.
You're right. But I think there's three different camps here.
Yeah.
There's the I'm in the Trump world, all in, and you do have people that adjust to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a Romney staffer. Spoken to bikers for Trump.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. I just adjust. I said my fight is always with the radical left.
Yeah.
So whoever the Republican is, I'm with them.
Yeah.
Then you have the people like Mike Pence, Dick Wadhams, and others who have said, I ain't with this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm out in the wilderness. I'm not in the camp, but I'm out in the wilderness. And then you have the Liz Cheneys and Bill Kristols who are like, no, I'm going to actively work against you and support your opponent. And that's something I just don't think you can ever come back from in the Republican Party. I don't know. Prove me wrong. 303-696-1971. Look, pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief, and the place to go is QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. They get you healing yourself. If you're living with the chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future of medicine. Call for a free consultation now. 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986 with locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
So since 7 came on, what's been happening in Aurora? There's been elements of a growing Venezuelan gang problem for a while. There were SWAT teams called to a particular apartment complex off of Nome Street there back in June. That resulted in a condemnation happening soon thereafter. City officials saying there's a slumlord. He's bad news. And he doesn't provide services. And that was the reason why we had to close down these apartment complexes. And in one scenario, they're right. And I have my own sources that have worked with this company. They're service providers that have worked with this apartment complex landlord who said, oh, yeah, absolutely. These people are totally slumlords. They haven't updated anything in years. Conditions are terrible. But leaders in the community, primarily Danielle Jurinsky and John Fabricatori, and John's running for Congress against Jason Crow, said, well, we're getting lots of messages directly to us from both citizens and law enforcement that there's a growing Venezuelan gang problem. But what made this a national story? I mean, there's gang problems in every major city in this country. What made this a national story? You had Aurora city leaders and media, particularly 9 News and the Denver Post, saying in the Aurora Sentinel that this was all essentially a figment of your imagination, a feature of your imagination, that it was this bizarre effort to try to bury things. Well, as story after story after story has come out that there is a growing Venezuelan gang problem, it is shot to the national stage to showcase that our community leaders, including Governor Jared Polis, are wrong and trying to hide something. And if there's one thing that the American people don't like about their political leaders, whether it's right or left, is if they try to hide something. Here's Jared Polis having to walk back. Now, originally, I want to remind you that he said Danielle Jurinsky was largely imagining this. This was a feature of her imagination that there was gang violence. Here's Jared Polis having to go back on CNN to walk this back.
Local officials near Denver say Venezuelan gang members are taking over apartment complexes in the area. They're calling on you to act. They're criticizing your office for dismissing the story as, quote, imagination. Out front, obtaining this video from a resident, Cindy Romero, showing gunmen, including with a semi-automatic weapon outside of her door. Romero says that she called police when she saw the gunmen, but they said they couldn't do anything unless something happened. There was actually a shootout at one point. Bullet holes ripped through her and her husband's cars. Local police confirmed the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua is committing, quote, isolated crimes in the area, as they put it. Is this something that you need to take more seriously?
Oh, we've taken it very seriously. Weeks ago, I convened the city of Aurora with the state and federal government. Look, it is completely illegal in Colorado to take over and occupy a building. And Aurora Police Department's on the front lines. If they need our help, I've told the mayor, I've told the police department, the state is ready to assist your police department if it's above and beyond your capabilities to do that. If the people alleging this have more evidence, please bring it forward, give it to Aurora Police Department. The state of Colorado takes these kinds of threats very seriously.
So he's been taking it very seriously, or is it a feature of Danielle Jurinsky's imagination? It can't be both. You can't take it very seriously. How do you take someone's a feature of their imagination seriously as a governor? You can't do both.
No.
So,
because other than that, he's going to come out with his leprechaun task force. Because we got to find where all those pots of gold are, because we need to get more money to lower property taxes. Yes, we just need to have the leprechaun task force because it's imaginary. Go out there and find all the gold so that we can pay lower property taxes. Because again, you wouldn't do that if it was imaginary, would you? No.
So what you're watching right now is this bizarre backing away from an effort to label concerns about Venezuelan gang problems as features of right-wing imaginations. And in fact, even the Sentinel, the Aurora Sentinel, had an opinion piece out saying, enough is enough.
Oh, that was hilarious. That Sentinel opinion piece was something else.
I can't believe it's still up.
I can't either based on this. It looks so bad because
it does.
It walks, knowing what we know now and the fact that everybody else is coming to the table, late, but we're welcoming you to the party. We appreciate it. We still have a lot of food left. You can join us. But the issue being, they're still having that piece up and it's saying this is completely wrong. These people on TV and talk radio, they didn't even mention our call letters. I'm really mad about that. But yeah, they're just inventing
really
this.
early ones on
Yes,
this
exactly. And they're saying that we're inventing this. This is made up. This is just a political stunt. And it's still on the website. When all of a sudden now we're getting more videos, we're having interviews with people, and even Governor Polis says, no, I'm super concerned about this.
Yeah, taking it very serious.
Very serious here.
So then last night, CBS News comes to the table with this incredible piece.
Okay, now hang on a sec here. You and I talked about doing this a couple of weeks ago. Remember that? We're like, you know what the TV station should do?
Down there.
They should do this. And oh my God, wait a minute.
Go down and talk to the people.
A national broadcast that does these type of things regularly did exactly what we were suggested.
Exactly right,
Something
Bill.
the other TV station in town, 9 News, didn't do. They didn't go down there. Cat Clark and the Sport Co. didn't go down there and talk to people. But
So
this
Brian
does.
Maas finds this, a Denver law firm hired, and this isn't just a rink-a-dink law firm. This includes a former U.S. attorney.
You mean Brian Maas was doing journalism?
Yeah.
Actual journalism?
That's right.
He went and looked at the story and didn't assume. I am shocked. Totally shocked.
A Denver law firm hired to look into the alleged gang takeover of the Aurora apartment building says they found the Venezuelan TDA gang began taking over the Whispering Pines apartment in late 2023. Since then, the gang has engaged in violent assaults, threats of murder, extortion, strong-arm tactics, and child prostitution as they have exhorted a stranglehold on the Aurora apartment complex. That's according to a letter sent to Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman, Aurora City Manager Jason Batchelor, by the way, invited on the show, no word back, and the interim police chief that was obtained by CBS News Colorado. Each page of the 9-page report was labeled confidential, treatment requested. The Perkins Coie law firm shared its findings on August 9th.
Wow.
A month ago with Aurora's top administrators. The evidence we have reviewed indicates that gang members are engaging in flagrant trespass violations, assaults and battery, human trafficking, and sexual abuse of minors, unlawful firearms possession, extortion, and other criminal activities, often targeting vulnerable Venezuelans and immigrant populations, wrote T. Marcus Funk, a former U.S. attorney. The firm says it represents the lender for Whispering Pines apartment, 1357 Helena Street, one of the several Aurora apartment buildings allegedly controlled by Tren de Aragua gang. The law firm says it interviewed witnesses, reviewed video from the Whispering Pines for its investigation. The letter marks the first time specific details and incidents have been revealed about how the gang allegedly took over the apartments and how they are operating. I'm going to get into those details. We're up against the break here. But here's the thing. Bill, there are people suffering.
Yep.
Assaults, battery, child, sexual abuse happening in our communities.
Yep.
And news agencies so committed to pushing a political narrative that somehow this is a feature of the imagination of right-wing conservatives deserve to hang their heads in shame for what they have done to the people of Colorado. And I'm talking specifically to the Sentinel, the Post, and 9 News. You are a disgrace to this community. I'm sorry, but when I hear that, I get so angry. The fact that you still want to run with this stupid political narrative that somehow we're making this stuff all up. All right, we'll continue. I'm sorry, Jay. Joe, we'll get to you. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill gangs in Venezuela. Venezuelan gangs in Aurora. Sorry. Let's go to Jay. Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for covering this. I watched the hit piece that Channel 9 put out a few nights ago with Kyle Clark, and they supposedly had a little powwow there with some locals from the apartment complex. But in fact, most of the people were on that were not living in the apartment complex, were not leased, didn't have a lease. And then the woman that put it together was the same woman that was upset that they were getting free food somewhere. And she's from Venezuela about 8 months ago, and she didn't like the type of food they were receiving. So they blame conservative media, you guys and others, Channel 31, for what's going on in Aurora and what's going on in our country. It's all fake news. Nobody bought it. So yesterday, Danielle Jerensky, which I really like, came out real strong on national news. And she said that the owner of the apartment complex is willing to relocate anybody from the apartment complex to another location that they have, free of charge, no strings attached. And the place has been taken over by these gangs quite a long time ago. And when you call 911 or Aurora police, they do not show up to that site. So I guess those guys that were going door to door with an AK-47 and an AR were just delivering pizzas. And when you didn't want to get your pizza, they just pry your door open and throw it through the front door. I mean,
wait, we've got a story to follow up on that, Jay. We've got a story on that one. And you're right. We've actually heard from an EMT that says they've been given a no-go zone. That you have to stay outside. You have to send in fire or police to get into that apartment complex.
Jay, really appreciate the call. Thanks so much. We're going to continue this conversation because CBS 4 has discovered how the gangs are actually operating.
Someone did
You're
journalism.
not going to want to miss this. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on this Thursday, September 5th, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You won the lottery. You woke up in the greatest country in history. We're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. Text message machine.
I know.
Not working.
No, we did the unplug it, plug it back in thing. Didn't work. So we're stuck. Mark Crowley's working behind the scenes, and evidently, I don't know if it's something with the hamster and the wheel or something running around, but yeah, he said it may take us 24, 48 hours. So yeah, our text machine is down right now. So it's unfortunate we can't speak with you that way. So
but you can always give us a call at 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Coming up after the news and commentary with Blake Olson, a Colorado law firm report claims Venezuelan gangs have had a stranglehold on the apartments. All here, a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
Since 2023.
What? 23?
Yeah.
We were led to believe this was not only a part, I would say figment, but a feature of our imaginations, or it was something that happened recently, that this has got a longer story behind it. And it's all because a station in town that doesn't have USA in their name decided to do journalism. Yes. That's why we know, because there was a station that decided, well, why don't we go and check rather than making fun of those talking about the story.
Yep.
Like Jeff and I.
And just dismissing it because it comes from conservative sources.
Yes.
So at this point, I think Channel 9's got a really big problem. And Denver Post secondary, but the reason this became a national story is because of how much Kyle Clark, Next, and Channel 9 disparaged Danielle Jurinsky over this, while actual Coloradans are suffering.
Yeah.
And so at this point, to maintain any legitimacy as a news agency, you've got to dig yourself out of a hole or pray to God that somehow this other reporting is not right, because at this point, you look negligent, grossly negligent.
Oh, yeah.
As a news agency. News agency.
Yeah. You want to be an opinion agency, go right ahead.
Disparaging people that have tried to report on this simply because of their political beliefs.
Yeah. Just because you sit on one side of the aisle or the other, that will then color whether or not the story is true.
And there's been rumors for a long time, like Kyle Clark has this weird thing in for Republican women.
Yeah.
And like really fixated on targeting them, right? Heidi Ganahl, Lauren Boebert, KBB. And then you see this total unwillingness to address facts in this case about Venezuelan arguments because it comes from a conservative woman.
Yeah. Yeah, because didn't like the source. So we're not going to look at the story because the source has to be bad. So, but again, and we got a caller, Joe, that's hanging on the line here, and he's got an interesting perspective on why that might have happened. But we'll have to get to him after we do news and such.
Let's get to that with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. 58 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 76 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, the 14-year-old boy who allegedly killed 4 people at Appalachia High School east of Atlanta Wednesday will be tried as an adult. Some reports say it could have been worse had it not been for the armed officer in the building. Former President Trump is pleading not guilty to charges from a new indictment in his federal January 6th election interference case is what they call it. His lawyers entered the plea on his behalf as he's not at the hearing that is underway. Little-minded Lizzie Cheney at it again. Evidently, the head of the Uniparty just has to endorse the lefty lunatics, sits on the stage, gets paid a ton of money to talk about nothing. Establishment types pay to listen to her, which is incredible. And then she does this.
As a conservative, as someone who believes in and cares about the Constitution, I have thought deeply about this. And because of the danger that Donald Trump poses, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris.
Oh, you're so amazing. One of our listeners, Joe, took the words out of my mouth.
Now every idiot warmonger out there can get aboard the Liz Cheney bandwagon. If we had a Venn diagram, we got warmonger, moron, and lost their election by over 30%. Really, Liz Cheney? Your vote, you should not. You can go over there with Joe Scarborough and be morons on MSNBC if you want, but don't, you're not a Republican and you're not a conservative.
Amen. That was Joe, right, guys? I don't know.
Yes, sir. That was Joe from Arvada.
We were talking about how funny Joe is.
How funny he is.
Oh man, he's so
We
good.
enjoy him. He's great.
He just crushed that. All right, I just wanted to make sure it was Joe. I thought it was Joe, but I was going in and out, and I heard that. I'm like, dude, we got to put that one on there.
Well done, Joe.
Yeah, way to be, Joe. The Trumpster in Pennsylvania on Fox News last night discussing all the chaos that Liz Cheney loves.
So she wants to be politically correct, and we can't be politically correct anymore. Look, we have October 7th. People saw it. We have things going on in the world right now with Israel and with the Middle East is blowing up. It's blowing up. We have Ukraine and Russia. That would never happen. That would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. If I were the president, it would have never happened, and everybody knew it. Iran was broke. They didn't have the money for Hamas and for Hezbollah. They didn't have the money for anybody. They wanted to get by. And we would have made a fair deal with them. I was only looking to make a fair deal with them. But, I wanted to say it so much during my term. We went 4 years without any blow-ups. We had no World Trade Center blow-up. We had no radical Islamic terror.
Yes, sir. Amen. Time for your Sanctuary City illegals update. 10, 15, 20 million. Who knows? Aurora police say 4 people arrested in connection with the shooting in July have ties with the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. I've been mispronouncing this like 30 times. So, let's go with TGA. 24-year-old Arnarti Pacheco Chirinos is charged with attempted murder, while his brother and 2 alleged accomplices face additional charges, including tampering with evidence. The shooting wounded 2 men and left a 3rd person with a broken ankle. 12 jurors and 4 alternates were chosen Wednesday. They'll hear the case against Ahmad Alyssa, who's charged with gunning down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder. Colorado's property tax wars are over. Governor Polis signed a bill into law Wednesday that lowers assessment rates and revenue caps. He called a special session to save homeowners money. He says this tax cut builds on efforts to reduce the cost of housing and make the state more livable and affordable for everyone. The state is making it easier for more Coloradans to buy electric bicycles. Another $1 million has been added. Has been added to the rebate program, and the latest round of applications will be open September 16th. Those things go fast, man, don't they?
If you're 21 living in the city of Denver, I'm sure it's fine. Anybody that's got kids and needs electric is not taking an electric bike to get anywhere. I think I drove like 150 miles yesterday, just driving my kids around to football, and I got a daughter working and all this stuff. I spent pretty much from 2:45 to about 7 p.m. driving kids around places. But in the movie Am I Racist by Matt Walsh, which comes out next week, there's a scene where he rides a little electric bike to a biker bar.
Oh, really?
And inside the biker bar, like Confederate flags and all that. And this is when he's in his DEI. He's all dressed up like a liberal. And he starts asking all these biker dudes about how they're decentering their whiteness.
I gotta see that. I gotta see that.
He Borats both the DEI community and the kind of Confederate, biker community down south of Louisiana too.
I love the idea that he goes and talks to the bikers. I have to go see that because, again, longtime Denver residents will understand this bar that I'm going to give a shout out to. Okay, buddy of mine, high school, his dad went and was drinking at the corner bar. We'd every once in a while have to go and check in with dad. Things like that. We're trying to get money to go out to concerts or something else like that. We'd have to go visit him at the bar. Name of the bar, Hart's Corner Bar. People in Denver will know that bar because on the door it says no colors allowed inside.
No way.
And that's biker colors, not gang colors. This is bikers. It is a biker bar.
color.
And
Yeah,
here's the idea is
color.
the very first time I walked in there with my buddy, I'd never been in there before, and walked in there to find Dad. Dad's dressed in what you would say was business casual. Dude to his left, full leather. Dude to his right, jeans and leather. And they're talking. And they're just like, and I'm like, these guys are going to stab us. Yeah. And they knew him by name. And it was one of those things.
Dude,
like,
it is
Yeah.
such a unique crew. And
is.
Matt Walsh at one point, it's like, so how many kids you got? And this guy's like, 2 or 3.
I like the fact that there's a number. He's not sure of the number.
I know.
It could be. Yeah. Greater than, less than, not sure. Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's great. I got to see that movie. NFL kicks off tonight with the Chiefs and the Ravens. 55 in North Glen, 53 in Lakewood, 58 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
A little bit of moisture that came in yesterday from a Pacific front will linger early in the day. It'll be cooler, just 70s in Denver, and a few showers and thunderstorms will be possible. Clearing tonight, lows in the low to mid-50s, back to dry weather, sunny and warm, 80s Friday, 80s Saturday, 80s to near 90 for Sunday and Monday. Only a few isolated mountain thunderstorms this weekend. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We've got absolutely jam-packed phone lines, so we'll jump over there, and then I'll get to, in just a second, what's actually happening at some of these apartment complexes and how the Venezuelan gangs are operating. Let's go to Joe, Denver. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing good. How are you, man? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for taking the call. So my take on it is the conservatives are suffering from the boy who's cried wolf syndrome, at least for me.
Yeah, explain.
I can give you a long history of things, starting with just the refusal to believe the results of the 2020 election. And even before that, just everything is an existential crisis. Policy difference, if you have a policy difference with somebody, that makes them an evil person. The word evil has been thrown out just so haphazardly for me. And Donald Trump, he's a doomsdayer. Right now, conservatives, all I hear is fear, doom, and gloom. And I don't, frankly, it's been so obvious to me that I've lost trust in what they say.
Now, Joe, I just bring this point up in the news right before you. Liz Cheney's talking about Donald Trump being a serious threat to the Constitution. Is that doom and gloom?
I don't know. Do you think a mob of people trying to overturn the election based on a lie is good for our country?
No, I don't.
Is that
But you seem to be fine labeling other people as threats to the Constitution. And you just said that conservatives are always doom and gloom.
They have been the last few years. What am I missing?
Okay, I'm just pointing out that you are on one side embracing doom and gloom while critiquing the other side for promoting doom and gloom.
Well, I would like to see a lot less doom and gloom, in general, because I think, elections and what we should be looking at is the future of our country, and trying to do the best job together to get, the best results for the most people for the least amount of money.
Joe, I think you've got a really good point. And in all honesty, I got to give a tip of the hat on my side of the glass here, because you approach this in a way that was unique, that I hadn't thought about the idea of the boy crying wolf. And I think that you have some validity there. And so what I want to ask you about is, do you think that perhaps we are just going to cast aspersions and we're doing this independently? It's always our opinion here. But do you think personally that maybe that's the filter that Kyle Clark and Channel 9 is operating under. The idea of the conservatives have spent so many years crying wolf about things that could or couldn't be true, that now when they say wolf, our first default is to not believe them. Do you think that could be the filter that they're working with?
I think that's a big part of it. I also think another part of it for folks like Kyle Clark is they're on the Sergeant Schultz side. They see nothing, they hear nothing, and anything that goes against their best wish narrative of what the world should be like, they will ignore it. And so they're equally as guilty for downplaying something. They're, you know, the conservatives come out and make it sound like, you know, there's open warfare in the streets, and yet it's really a basic problem of poor people living in a crappy building with crappy landlords and a bunch of immigrants that can't work. So that invites crime, and those things come together. That isn't, to me, a doom and gloom situation unless it's ignored. And unfortunately, it got ignored. I don't know what the Aurora Police's original, you know, take on it was, what their plan to deal with it was, but certainly from politics and news, you know, it was either end of the world or nothing to see here.
Yeah. Now, Joe, I got something I want to ask you about just for a sec, because I'm hearing from you. It sounds like something that I've had this perception. I've been saying this behind the scenes and sometimes behind this microphone on and off for about 6 years, not just on the show, but producing other shows and doing other things. I've been saying that now in America, we are not using truth to determine our politics. We're using politics to determine our truth. Is that kind of where you're going? That what we're seeing on both sides, both the Channel 9s and also some conservative media, that the issue is filtered through their politics first, then we will decide whether or not it's right based on that. What do you think?
Generally, yeah, I wouldn't confine it just to politics, but
That's fair.
Sure, that's a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, how do we break out of it, my man? What do you think is going to have to happen for us not to do it? Because I think this is just going to continue for a while. I think this is where we are. How do we get out of it?
More journalists doing their job.
Ah, crap.
And stop trying to be your story's friend, and sometimes realize you need to be the story's adversary.
Yes.
And you're trying to get information that somebody doesn't want to give you. That's the whole point of being a journalist.
No.
Yeah.
Joe, I
pushing out
appreciate it.
Stuff.
I mean,
Yeah,
Joe,
right,
to your exact point, and I think you're right in here, you oftentimes hear that the cover-up is worse than the crime. In this case, the effort to downplay some concerns that were raised by Danielle Jurinsky, as I pointed out, crime activity happens in cities all across this country.
Yep, all over.
So what? It was this bizarre effort to dismiss it as some feature of a conservative's imagination that made this a national story. So, Joe.
Well, and conservatives and Republicans are ripe for picking on these days here in Colorado. So that comes into it too.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Joe, thanks for the call, man. I hope we can hear your voice more often. I appreciate how you think, and I appreciate your contribution to the show. Thank you.
So I want to get into what CBS News has found, how this gang is operating, because this is really important. It was the sense, Peter Boaz and I were talking yesterday, because you watched this press release where people were going, oh, no, everything's great. There's no problem. And you felt like just out of the camera's reach was somebody with a gun, pointed at them. Going, you better say that.
Exactly.
So investigators interviewed the property managers. This is a law firm that sent this review of what's happening at these apartment complexes on behalf of the lender. This was sent to the leaders in Aurora. Okay, they interviewed the property manager who had 15 years of experience in the industry. The property manager said he had never seen anything remotely like the Tren de Agua takeover of Whispering Pines in his entire career. Whispering Pines consists of 54 apartments with rent ranging from $1,450 to $2,000 per month. According to the report, tenants are generally working-class Hispanic families with children, which makes the argument, by the way, if you care for immigrants, you need to take this a lot more seriously. Property manager told the law firm that he started his job in January of 2024, but that TDA had already been establishing a presence in the apartments before the employment. In November of 2023, the report states a consultant for the property management company was so severely beaten and stomped by gang members that he had to go to the hospital. The report says the beating was unprovoked. The gang activity at Whispering Pines escalated in 2024, according to the document obtained by CBS News Colorado. In April 2024, a housekeeper called the property manager, informing him that two individuals at the property went into an apartment, came out with large firearms, and were coming to kill him, the property manager. The individuals were apparently past due on rent. The property management said that two individuals were arrested as they were coming to kill him. The report says the men who were armed with large firearms were gang members. The property manager went on to say that the gang members allegedly stabbed a Whispering Pines resident for refusing to pay, quote, rent to the gang. Since then, the property has recorded footage of gang members knocking on doors and without authorization or any justification attempting to collect rent from the tenants of Whispering Pines. In June, the report says suspected gang members approached the property manager and offered to help the manager, quote, if he agreed to pay the gang 50% of everything the property management company collected in rent. This was essentially a scheme, a mob scheme. The investigators who authored the report called this an organized crime tactic. They said gang members said they were taking over vacant units in Whispering Pines and would start collecting rent from tenants. So they basically just said, we're now in control of this apartment complex. This is our business plan. One gang member told a housekeeper, if the property manager doesn't like it, we will fill him with bullets.
Yeah, and there's some reports that some of the residents of the apartment complex were still making payments for rent because it's automatically withdrawn from their accounts. But what was happening that I've seen in other reporting
is a second payment.
Yeah, it's a second payment. It's a protection payment. It's a, hey, I know you paid this, but in order to make sure that everything goes well and that you stay in this building and you keep all your fingers, it's going to be another couple $100. And so you're kicking that to us. So you're going to hear some reporting that, no, they were paying the rent to the landlord. That doesn't mean they also weren't being extorted by these gangs, which is what the reporting is that we are seeing.
Yes.
Sorry, continue.
And we have never said that there are no problems with these landlords. The landlords are perfectly angels.
Yes. Two things can be true at the same time.
Yes. Yep. Anyone who's had kids can know that both kids can be jerks at the same time.
At the same time, often to each other.
The report says this conduct's brazen and public nature further exhibits the suspected gang members' sense of comfort and control, consistent with their taking over the property and not fearing the law enforcement of the property management. Investigators concluded the gang members have been extorting rents from residents they moved into the vacant units. The property manager further shared that TDA now uses the formerly vacant units. This is what really got me. Okay, so they kick people out. Property manager doesn't have any control anymore. They now take these vacant units to host parties where they serve drugs and child prostitution. The property manager apparently told the law firm investigators that minors are a good source of money.
Jeez, that hurts.
CBS News Colorado also obtained internal Aurora police documents from June that appear to support some of the law firm's conclusions. An officer reported responding to a call from a house cleaner at Whispering Pines. He said she told police she was threatened and needed to give up the keys to vacant apartments at the Whispering Pines apartments so that groups of Venezuelans could move people into the Whispering Pines apartment. The officer reported suspects left, but not before warning her to comply or else they would kill her and her family. The Aurora officer wrote to fellow officers, I would highly recommend you guys take 2 or 3 friends with you when responding to any calls there.
Jeez, and we've heard from an EMT and said that they have been told it's a no-go zone, that they have to stay outside, several blocks outside of where that apartment complex is. And they have to wait for the fire department or the police department to get whoever is in an emergency situation out of that area and then to them into the ambulance. So with our listeners, think about someone in your family having a heart attack, a stroke, broken leg, something like that, and having to wait for the police to come in or the fire department to come in, secure the location, then take you to the ambulance, then load you into the ambulance, and then to get you the emergency care that you need. Imagine the amount of time. And when you're talking about things like heart attacks and strokes, that can be the difference between life and death. That's how serious at a core this issue is.
And all could have just been addressed like any other issue that a city faces.
Yep. But instead, we call it imaginary. Great.
Unbelievable.
Wonderful leadership.
Not imaginary.
No, not at all.
Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan is a real deal. That's right. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But Dan's more than just a guy that shares our values. He's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis is so trusted that Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. But you must be thinking, man, this guy is only reserved for the rich and wealthy. No! Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So listen, even if you're not hurt, even if you don't need him right now, put his phone number in your phone so that you're not searching around when you finally need his help. Give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. All right. I needed to get through that. I wanted people to understand how these gangs are operating in Aurora. We're going to get to the phone calls. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Now that's real journalism.
All right. Finally, some news. The agency's getting to the bottom of what's happening in some of these Aurora apartment complexes, and they shockingly are not the feature of Danielle Jaworski's imagination.
Not at all. Brian Maas doing the hard work over at CBS 4. Appreciate him so much because he's doing the journalism, something that we complain about all the time that not enough people do. Brian does it.
And the Gazette doing it as well.
Yes.
Gazette discovering that Phil Weiser's office, as well as the city of Aurora, knowing about this maybe earlier than they let on.
Oh my gosh.
So if you can believe that.
Maybe it just wasn't on Phil's whiteboard. That was the problem. That's why he missed it.
Who's that white dudes for Harris? Let's go to Chris Aurora. Chris, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, fellas. A couple of quick observations, and then I'll get to my point for calling. First, I got to hand it to Perkins Coie. They're the same firm that Clinton hired for the Dirty Dossier fake Russian news report. So way to see that they're still in business. When I saw the videos of the people in the apartment complex, I didn't think January 6th. I didn't think who's the source. I didn't think any of that. What I thought was, here is one of my neighborhood that I work in. Here are taxes that I pay. Here are my fellow citizens being terrorized. And I ask myself, where is my congressperson? Where is Jason Crow? And the reason why I say that is that this guy couldn't wait to get in front of a microphone when Kendrick Castillo was killed. He couldn't wait to go to a memorial for, him when that happened. He couldn't wait to give money to Ukraine when they wanted it. But I'm thinking, in my own backyard, I'm seeing people terrorized, and they're right down the street from me. And because of this, I've had to go out and purchase several firearms that I otherwise wouldn't have. But I've realized that when you have orders from the government not to send paramedics to places where people could get hurt, and you have 911 operators saying, sorry, we can't do anything until after somebody's been hurt, you have to ask yourself, where's your congressperson? Where are the leaders who are supposed to be able to stop this? I mean, they took an oath to defend people, and where are they? And it's nice to go after Kyle Clark because he deserves it. It's nice to go after all of these folks because they've had their heads in the sand like Polis. But where's this congressperson who's in the middle of an election? And because of what you guys are talking about, I gave another check to Fabricatory because I don't know what else to do other than to arm myself and try to find people who are going to actually defend not only me and my family, but my neighbors and my fellow citizens.
Hey, Chris, I want to talk to you for a second there, man. There was something really powerful right there at the end that I think that we can kind of circle back to that you said. I appreciate, how you looked at it and the fact that you looked at the, looked at the video and you immediately saw it not as a feature of someone's imagination, but something real that was going on and you were concerned. And what I think is most impactful for our listeners today is your phrase, what else am I going to do? It's that feeling of powerlessness that we have because you're right. Someone like a Jason Crow doesn't pay attention, doesn't show up, and doesn't seem to have any focus or care for what is happening to this part of our constituents, while John Fabricatory has been in our studio multiple times being concerned about exactly this. He was the one that first turned us on to that Venezuelan gang, identified it for us and said, here's who's coming over here and why. He did it off the air first and then on the air with us. But that's it, man. That frustration. I feel it. You feel it. Jeff feels it. Our listeners feel it. What are we going to do?
Here's the thing is that, I have a job that, I work 70, 80 hours a week.
Dude, I feel you, man.
And I got kids and I got, and we all have our responsibilities, but if we were true to ourselves, we would ask ourselves, okay, what did you do during COVID when you were told to do all these silly things? You did them. You didn't protest. You did them. What did you do when you saw your city being burned down after George Floyd? You didn't protest. Some of us did. A person even got killed for it. But when you look at the people who listen to your radio station, the folks that we all kind of are circles of influence, we have to ask ourselves, okay, at what point are you just going to say enough is enough? And, I'm sorry, I don't look at this necessarily like your previous caller. He's got his He's got his mind back in January 6th because it's convenient for him. But I'm sorry, Jared Polis represents all of us, not just Denver, not just Boulder, not just his buddies, but you have an apartment complex that's being taken over by people with semi-automatic weapons. I don't care where they're from. I really don't. I just know they don't belong there.
Oh, yeah, and they shouldn't be doing that, and I agree with it. And I think that the last caller's point was the issue of certain things that have been elevated inside of conservative media that turned out not to be true. And so that's why certain other people, and again, it shouldn't be at somewhere like a Channel 9, but why someone else may decide, okay, I don't believe it because that group Crying Wolf. However, Channel 9 is tasked with, and they've taken on the responsibility of doing the journalism. So for them to behave the same way is ridiculous.
The problem with Channel 9 is, and you know this as a native, is, I grew up with Channel 9.
That's exactly
I grew
right.
up with Ed Sardella. I grew up, that was my channel. Now, and I look at them now and I can't even stomach them anymore. And I feel bad for Kim Christensen because I don't understand why she puts up with this nonsense. But I mean, I'm looking at what's going on here, and it's like, again, this if they didn't care about their agenda, they would just simply ask, why is this okay? Yeah. Governor Polis, why is this okay? Jason Crow, where are you? Stop giving money to Ukraine. Stop sitting on assassination committees, which you have no business sitting on. Stop trying to impeach. Stop impeaching a president over crap that didn't matter. This is going on in your backyard, and you are nowhere to be found. And I don't understand why this is okay. Yeah, and I am frustrated. I feel like I'm barking at the clouds half the time because it's like, what is going on with our neighborhood, our country, our state? Why is this okay?
Chris,
you're
really
right, man.
appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
Have a great day,
Chris
man.
from Aurora. His line will be
safe.
open 303-696-1971. Billy, tell us about Balanced Well Space.
Yeah, I am dealing with so much pain in my life, not just a pain in the neck and the head that I cause for you, our listeners. I'm talking about real legitimate, like physical pain. I did a lot of dumb things when I was a kid, and I'm paying for it now. And I thought just as I'm getting older, that's how you have to live your life, that it is just a matter of dealing with the pain. I didn't know you didn't have to. I found an amazing team at Balanced Well Space. I want you to check them out, balancewellspace.com. They are fixing a long list of physical problems with me. I'm regenerating actually the meniscus in my left knee right now. They're helping me out with 2 vertebrae in my back that are fused together, destroying a lot of the built-up scar tissue in my broken shoulder. I thought that every day it was just going to be another long list of pains and aches and then things that I can't do. They're changing that, and I want them to change that in your life as well. You're in pain. There are things that you've stopped doing. It doesn't have to be that way, but you got to talk to my friends at Balanced Well Space first. Balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. This is why they're different. Integrative medicine, chiropractic care, neuropathy care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more, along with some amazing cutting-edge technologies, all under one roof. So when you meet with Balanced Well Space, they take a look at you. They ask you about your pain, what you're not doing, then they put together. And they reevaluate it every few weeks to make sure you're getting to the point you want to be to take away that pain. Something's not working, they'll change it. They'll increase or decrease things based on your need. The important part is it's your medical team talking about you to get you better. Your current medical team doesn't do that. It's a bunch of different doctors in different offices that never talk. That's why Balanced Well Space is different. That's why they're better. That's why they can help. Check them out. New offices in Lowry, right across the street from Hangar 2. Plenty of parking. balancewellspace.com. balancewellspace.com. I want you to experience the change in your life that I'm experiencing right now. And do me a favor. Tell me you heard about them on Jeff and Bill.
Great to hear, Billy. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Here we go. Here we go. You know who this is?
This is Eminem.
Yes, oh man, Houdini, we're rolling this one. I'm so proud of Kelpie.
Kyle Clark trying to make his credibility disappear. All right.
Such a good song.
Let's go to Mike, Aurora.
No, maybe Joan?
Oh, let's do Joan.
Yeah,
Sorry.
let's do Joan.
Joan Lakewood, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Joan.
Joan? Okay, let's try Mike. I'll put
All
her
right,
back on
we'll
hold.
go Mike, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Your last caller was certainly had a lot to say, and all of it was right. And if people want to know what they need to do, vote. You need to vote. We cannot continue to elect the same people over and over and over again and expect that things are going to change. This comment by the governor of we're ready and willing and able to assist Aurora is candidly BS. He called Danielle Jurinsky's comments a figment of her imagination.
Yep.
I didn't hear an apology for that.
Nope.
Not a single apology for that.
And in fact,
Where
Mike,
is members
we asked Danielle Jurinsky earlier this week if she'd ever gotten an apology from Jared Polis, and she just laughed. She said they never apologize.
Of course. Where are members of the Colorado legislature about this, speaking out against this? Democrats, like the Attorney General of the state of Colorado. Where is he on this issue?
Well, and
We
Mike,
don't know.
to that point, there's evidence from the Daily Gazette that he knew about this long before he led on. Appreciate the call, Mike. Thanks so much. Look, if you're considering selling your home, go with the team that's going to give you not only top-level service, but will help you earn more from the sale of your home than any other agent. Gay Ribble has proven to get more for her sellers because they have ready buyers looking for a home in your area. They don't just make this claim. They can sit down and actually show you a list of over 14,700 buyers. This gives you an immediate advantage. Sure, you can hire any agent to sell your home, but isn't it all about how much you put in your pocket after closing? The Empower Home team specializes in making sure you make the most amount of money. They will sell your home at your price, or Gay will buy it, guaranteed. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE has thebuyers.com. Let's go to Joan Lakewood. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. So I called because I am the director of communications for you all.
Yes, you are.
And you might not be surprised that I've actually exchanged emails with Kyle Clark from time to time. And
Really?
I did it mostly during the COVID because the misinformation they were giving out was just hard to take when you're a retired healthcare professional. But anyway, he would email me back, and then I emailed him in February over the meetings we were having in Lakewood because he was playing those down, the big meetings. And he sent me an email, and this is a direct quote from his email. "It's been a while since you sent me one of these incoherent emails. My guess is that someone on talk radio told you to be angry with me again."
That's about the time our show started, too, right?
Jeez.
Incoherent emails.
Yeah, and
I can't understand how the management of Channel 9's like, the station of Ed Sardella, Adela Arakawa, flush down the toilet.
Yeah, and here's the thing that annoys me a lot. When Kyle would say something to our director of communications that would invalidate her having her own opinion. What Kyle has done inside of that response there is saying to you, Joan, that you can't possibly be bright enough, intelligent enough, well-adjusted enough to see the world and then come to your own conclusions. You don't, obviously, according to Kyle, have that ability because you have to be manipulated and told what to think by conservative talk radio. Now, the reason he's doing that, in my opinion, is because that's what he does on his show.
Yeah.
So he assumes that's how everybody else behaves because he's telling all the mommies around Denver exactly how they should feel and what they should respond to. So he's assuming the same thing. He believes that his audience isn't intelligent enough to come to their own conclusions, so he has to do it for them. So he ascribes the same thing to you, not understanding that you think for yourself all the time, all the time.
Well, in that vein, it occurred to me right after when I saw the film that it was in Crow's area, Jason Crow. So I did call his office because, once again, I am the communication director, and I called his office in DC, and his aide picked up, and I said, I just saw these horrible videos of these long guns being on television, and these people being terrorized.
Joan, we appreciate the call. We're just out of time.
Yeah, we'll get you back on,
so
communications
much.
director. Have a great day.
Tomorrow,
we'll get you
Lauren
back.
Boebert's bringing a whole bunch of congressmen over to this office. It's going to be crazy.
She was at In-N-Out. She was at In-N-Out in Parker this morning.
Nice.
Yes.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.